the Cardcaptor Wizard of Hogwarts. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 126 First Meeting. Among the two candy balls, Sirius rolled his eyes and vomited until he was black. Pettigrew, sorry, the whole mouse was already soaked in vomit. The moment Adam saw it clearly, he threw the candy ball out with a look of disgust and looked at the palm of his hand. Fortunately, the ventilation holes were opened small enough, and the vomit was too thick to flow out at all. A sleeping card was thrown over, and a bubble card was used to wash and dry the person and the mouse. Adam used the elimination card to erase their memory, and then restarted their first meeting. After Sirius woke up leisurely, he immediately realized that something was wrong with his state. He is actually in human form now. Was he exposed? Exclamation mark. He just clearly. Oh, what was he clearly doing just now? Sirius frowned and racked his brains but couldn't remember it. Instead, he felt waves of nausea and vomiting. Could it be that he has forgotten all about it? Yo? You're awake. Sirius turned his head alertly and found a boy wearing a Hogwarts uniform sitting in front of him with a smile. The operation was successful. Congratulations on turning into a girl. Sirius subconsciously crossed his legs, and then realized something was wrong. Do you know who I am? Although I don't know what happened, I am now a wanted criminal. Looking at the mark on my chest, I can see that the child opposite belongs to Hufflepuff. Maybe I can use this. Seeing the mouse in the plastic box in Adam's hand, Sirius's mind suddenly slid uncontrollably into boundless anger. Everything he had been thinking about just now was burned by anger, and there was only one thought left in his mind: kill the traitor. He didn't have a wanted hand, but he still had the fangs and teeth of his animagus form. With a move of his finger, Sirius, who was captured by the floating tag, desperately performed various postures of vicious dog hunting in the air. 15 minutes later, Sirius's limbs hung down feebly, his tongue drooped from his mouth, and he breathed heavily like a bellows, but his eyes were still staring at Pettigrew fiercely. After a few more minutes, Sirius looked at Adam as if he had woken up from a dream. Calm down, Adam snapped his fingers, and Sirius fell from the sky and returned to his human form. What do you know? Sirius was not stupid. After calming down, he could find many clues if he thought about it carefully. These clues all showed that Adam was special. He seemed to know a lot of things. I didn't know much at first, but now I probably know everything. Adam picked up the crystal cup next to him and took a sip. The amber liquid was clear and the crystal cup was elegant. Just when Sirius was habitually trying to determine what kind of wine it was, he saw clearly the rising bubbles in the liquid. I was so stunned by the other party's silent and wandless levitating spell and words that I almost forgot that the child in front of me was still a student at Hogwarts. Thinking of this and recalling how he was unable to resist under the control of the levitating spell just now, Sirius's expression was a little subtle. Are all the young wizards at Hogwarts of such high quality now? However, remembering that Adam was just a student, Sirius also breathed a sigh of relief. The other party did not hand him over to the Dementors, which meant that he knew at least part of the truth, and at least knew that he was wrongly accused. Who are you? Did you bring me here? Introduce yourself. My name is Adam Reed. Adam. Sirius couldn't help but lick the corners of his mouth when he heard the name. He hadn't had a good meal since he escaped from prison. During this time in the castle, he was deeply impressed by this name. However, before Sirius could reflect on the biscuits he secretly ate that day, he heard Adam say, "As for the person who caught you here, yes, it's me." Why? Adam glanced at him in surprise, with a "listen to what you're talking about" expression on his face, then picked up the newspaper on the table at hand and pointed to the front page. To be precise, it was pointing to the Gold Galleon's bounty below Sirius wanted poster on the front page. Sirius, should we be happy? The person who discovered him was a kind-hearted Hufflepuff. After learning about his experience, he resolutely gave up the high bounty and did not turn him in. Speaking of which, how did you catch me? Sirius couldn't help but recall, but no matter how he recalled it, it was all blank. Vomit? Well, it's not completely blank. At least there is still a burst of vomiting. Actually, that was a coincidence. Adam looked like he was lost in memories. I finished class that day and saw you mixing number 47 concrete. You must know that the key to the 48 transform lies in the lavender fragrance in the base note. The result is red carp, green carp and donkey. Oh, that's Such a coincidence. Sirius was in a daze for a moment, and then showed an expression that he couldn't bear to look back on. Well, as expected, the effect would be much better with the addition of a substitute card, and with the addition of the confusion spell, it would even save him the effort of making up reasons. It's a pity that you have to first establish the other person's goodwill toward you at the beginning, and then use the love card to amplify the loopholes in the other person's mind, so as to confuse the other person's understanding more peacefully. And it's hard to say whether the first meeting repeated so many times before had some impact on the other person's mind, which is why this time went so smoothly. With a few casual words, Sirius cast the animagus. Adam flicked his fingers and made Sirius fall into coma for who knows how many times, and erased a memory of first meeting for who knows how many times. Adam's feelings towards Sirius are complicated. On the one hand, because of the relationship with Professor Snape and the fact that he would be affected by him this school year, he didn't have a good impression of Sirius. But for this guy who allowed himself to be imprisoned in Azkaban for so many years out of self-blame, and resolutely escaped from prison after seeing his godson in danger, and swam back to land from Azkaban in the form of a black dog, and slept in the open air to save his godson. Although he felt that the other party didn't seem to be very smart, Adam really couldn't hate him. Using the other party to test the results of his own research on magic was Adam's small revenge for being affected by the Dementors this time, and being disturbed during the last barbecue. There was no way. He didn't usually meet any test subjects who were intelligent enough to give feedback and could be used without any psychological pressure. He could not feel guilty about playing with Pettigrew, but Pettigrew is too ugly. Every time he thought of this, Adam couldn't help but sigh that he had no foresight at the time. He would have used the double card to copy a Lockhart after floating Sirius and Pettigrew. Adam randomly threw them in 2 abandoned classrooms. He didn't know whether they would meet each other again after waking up. As for how to properly solve the problems of the Ministry of Magic, mistakenly imprisoned an innocent person in Azkaban for more than 10 years and a hero promoted by the Ministry of Magic is actually a despicable traitor, it was even less of his business. Let Professor Dumbledore and Sirius Godson worry about it. Chapter 127, Purified Horcrux. Throwing Sirius aside, Adam still had his own things to do after studying magic for so long. He didn't just study how to look cool, but also had some very practical experience. Not long after pretending to accidentally discover the Room of Requirement, Adam had already obtained the Ravenclaw's diadem inside. This Horcrux was even obtained before the diary. However, Adam has never had a good way to deal with the soul fragments inside and keep the diadem intact. If Voldemort is not a good guy who wastes good things, several Horcruxes are basically treasures. Salazar Slytherin's locket, Helga Hufflepuff's gold cup, Rowena Ravenclaw's diadem, Marvolo Gaunt's ring. Harry Potter can barely be counted. If possible, Adam still hopes to deal with Voldemort's soul fragments separately without damaging the carrier, at least to keep Helga Hufflepuff's gold cup. While exploring the combination of Clow Cards, Adam accidentally discovered a combination that can do this, a wonderful combination. After looking at the crown from Lady Rowena Ravenclaw, which had been restored to its original glory, Adam took out another Horcrux in his hand, Marvolo Gaunt's ring, or Resurrection Stone. The ring itself was crudely made, and Adam disdained the ring setting and threw it in the ruins of Gaunt's old house. Adam now only had the Resurrection Stone originally embedded in it. Holding the Resurrection Stone in his hand, the protection of the shield completely ignored the curse on it, just like when Adam turned Gaunt's old house upside down to find the ring. By the way, the location of Gaunt's old house was provided by Mr. Mundungus Fletcher, who did not want to reveal his name at that time in Hogsmeade Village. This guy was caught by Adam because of his dirty hands and feet, and because of his good attitude of admitting his mistakes, he won the opportunity for leniency. Adam was very satisfied with his attitude, but the Basilisk and the Acromantula seemed a little disappointed. Now Mundungus is employed by Adam to help Adam collect some information, such as the information about poaching and smuggling magical animals in the black market, and the location of Gaunt's old house. After a moment of distraction, Adam looked at the Resurrection Stone in his hand and used the magic of the double card to copy the Resurrection Stone into 2 copies. The magic of the substitution card was then activated, and the soul fragments on the 2 Horcruxes exchanged carriers with each other. Next, remove the magic of the double card, 1 magic stone disappears, and the soul fragment attached to it loses its carrier, leaving only a massive matter more ethereal than smoke, which dissipates with a gust of wind. At the same time, the soul fragment on the other Resurrection Stone also disappeared. With the removal of the double card magic after a series of operations, Adam successfully obtained a Resurrection Stone with the soul fragment removed. This method was thought of by Adam yesterday when he was experimenting with Rowena Ravenclaw's crown. Of course, The crown was copied by the double card when he succeeded for the first time. Adam couldn't help but burst out a swear word. He is really a genius. This method can perfectly solve the soul fragments on the dead object Horcrux. As for Harry, let's talk about it later. The original route is quite effective. Adam will try his best to let Voldemort follow the original pit. The only thing that needs to be changed is the ownership of the Elder Wand, but this is actually very easy to operate. Adam looked at the Resurrection Stone in his hand with satisfaction, thinking about what kind of jewelry to make it into. Although the effect of the Resurrection Stone seems to have no practical significance, it is still very collectible as a deathly hallow time is still passing day by day. On a rainy day, the Slytherin team lost unexpectedly in the game against the Hufflepuff team. The captain of Slytherin was a little angrily scolding the Seeker Draco, thinking that he was the main reason for their defeat, and threatened to replace him in the next game facing Gryffindor. Draco did not have the skills of Harry to shuttle freely in the wind and rain. Facing Hufflepuff, Draco did not have the physique of Cedric to face the wind and rain. I always feel that this is not a compliment. Cedric's expression was a little subtle when he heard this, but then he was attracted by the large table of dishes in front of him. 3 of the Hufflepuff team members were his good friends, and the rest were basically acquaintances. Cedric entrusted him to prepare a celebratory banquet for everyone, and Adam would naturally not refuse. For this reason, Adam even served the roasted 8-eyed giant spider. The invited Ravenclaw seeker Chuzang said that she was a little bit unacceptable, and Adam helped her change a bowl of rock sugar bird's nest. Ahem, change one for me too. Cedric looked at the fragrant 8-eyed giant spider and swallowed hard. Looking at those teammates who were wolfing down the food, he knew that the roasted 8-eyed giant spider was absolutely delicious, but he still resolutely pushed the 8-eyed giant spider away from him. Adam looked at him in surprise, then looked at Chuzang, who was drinking rock sugar bird's nest in small sips, with a blush on her cheeks, and smiled knowingly. Oh, Adam deliberately dragged out the ending sound, and watched as the shyness on Cedric's face turned into shame and anger, and even showed signs of being angry. Before he helped him change a plate of scones, Cedric looked at the scones in front of him, and then looked at the rock sugar bird's nest in front of Chuzang, and a question mark popped up in his head. Are you kidding me? He paid for the meal. Everyone else was eating delicious food, but he was eating scones. There's nothing else. There are only 2 8-eyed giant spiders left. You can eat them if you want. Faced with Cedric's question mark, Adam spread his hands. Cedric wanted to say something, but Chuzang pulled his clothes. Forget it, it's so late, let's eat together. Looking at the rock sugar bird's nest pushed between the 2 of them, Cedric looked at Adam again, and couldn't help showing some gratitude and admiration in his eyes, secretly giving Adam a thumbs up. Thank you, boss, I'll come again next time. After dinner, Cedric found Adam to thank him for his help again. Adam said that this was nothing, and then introduced Cedric to his business, wedding candy, cakes and wedding banquets one-stop service. Now book to enjoy 20% discount, and also send a luxury special effects gift package. 10 miles of flowers and snow. 10 miles of flowers and snow all over the sky. These 2 special effects don't match. It doesn't matter. You can use one this time and the other next time. Next time. Ahem. I mean, if there are any other banquets next time, you can also find me. Anyway, I'll keep this for you. Thinking that even if he and Chuzang can't get married in the end, they will always get married in the future, Cedric finally took out the money. Order 1, okay. Then I have to take a look at the birthday banquets, housewarming banquets, enrollment banquets, graduation banquets, full moon banquets here. Finally, Cedric looked at his drained wallet and couldn't help thinking about whether the banquets he just ordered were really necessary. Well, it's necessary. Back to the dormitory, looking at Adam who was counting the money, Bernard was a little speechless. You are not short of money, so why do you accept orders even decades later? You don't understand the joy that the process of making money brings to people. Adam flicked his thumb, and a gold galleon was bounced up and caught by him. Then, Adam, do you accept family banquets? Chapter 128. Meeting without knowing each other. Family dinner? Adam glanced at Cologne who spoke. What kind of banquet are you having at your house? Is your sister getting married? Oh, not yet. Cologne recalled their last experience in Hogsmeade Village and couldn't help but twitching at the corner of his eyes. But my mom wrote to me and said she, my dad, and Kelly would be there when we went to Hogsmeade this weekend. A letter from home is full of nostalgia for food, and the concern for Cologne is limited to the social rhetoric in the first sentence. It can be said to be very real, Adam thought for a while and nodded. No problem. The weekend came soon, and Adam conquered the whole family in Cologne with a table of 4 cold, 4 hot, 2 soup and 1 dessert dishes. Mr. Berg patted his chest and said that he would definitely help Adam find a suitable restaurant location. Even if the neighbors are driven away, this restaurant must open next to their house. After declining the warm offer from Cologne's family to stay, Adam and the others gathered at the Three Broomsticks bar. I thought I saw Cedric just now. Cologne touched his chin and analyzed calmly, but he walked in the direction of Honeyduke's candy store. Wasn't that store already owned by Adam? What was he doing there? Bernard sighed. Is it possible that there is another shop in that direction called Mrs. Puttifu's Tea House? He still likes tea. Bernard pinched the bridge of his nose and gave up communicating so as not to spoil the children. Here comes the butterbeer. Adam came back with 5 glasses of butterbeer. This time the glasses seemed a little bigger than last time. I remember that there were no new activities in the canteen during this period. The business of the Three Broomsticks bar should not be further affected. Right after taking a sip, Adam looked at the wine glass in his hand. I think it's probably because, halfway through Uther's words, he suddenly heard a somewhat familiar voice. What brings you here, Minister? This was the voice of Ms. Rosmerta, but it was not her voice that Uther heard just now. Uther turned around and saw Professor Flitwick in the seat not far away, and Professor McGonagall, Hagrid, and the British Minister of Magic. Uther recalled it, and he vaguely remembered that the guy's name seemed to be Fudge. What else could it be for? Fudge took the drink he ordered inside. Of course it was for Sirius's sake. He showed up at Hogwarts. The Dementors broke into Hogwarts before, causing him to be scolded by a group of parents by Dumbledore. Lucius even blamed him for the reason why his son fell from the broomstick. If he could, he wouldn't want to see Dumbledore again this year. It's a pity that Sirius is the only guy who has successfully escaped from Azkaban. This nature is so bad that every day he is allowed to be outside he defied the authority of the Ministry of Magic and had to come to Hogwarts again. Oh, it's about Halloween. I heard about it. Hagrid, did you tell the whole pub, Professor? McGonagall's somewhat annoyed voice sounded immediately after Ms. Rosmerta's voice. The inside information of Hogwarts was leaked, and the person who did it had no second suspect. Well, Professor McGonagall, you have to believe that I didn't mean it. Adam turned his head and glanced sideways. Hagrid put down the wine glass, which was too small for him, and scratched his beard with his thick fingers slightly uneasily. That day, I remember I just drank a few glasses of wine. Okay. Hagrid, don't mention what has happened in the past, Professor Flitwick comforted him, and Hagrid was so moved that he wiped the corners of his eyes. Ms. Rosmerta was not very interested in the exchanges between the professors. She leaned back in her chair and looked at Fudge with some gossip. So, Minister, you think he's still here, still around the castle? Right, yes, although the professors searched the castle thoroughly and found nothing, I believe he's here, Fudge said firmly. So, do you know how many times the Dementors raided my bar? Ms. Rosmerta's expression suddenly turned cold. 3 times. 3 times exactly. They scared away all my customers. It's been hard to do business these days. Do you want to continue the search? Hearing this, Uther looked at Adam. That's exactly what I'm saying. Business at the Three Broomsticks is probably worse because of the Dementors. Oh, honey, I don't like them either, but that's a necessary measure, isn't it? It's also for the safety of your bar, just like Hogwarts. Fudge tried to muddle through. Dementors are not welcome at Hogwarts either, Professor. McGonagall snorted coldly, remembering Harry, who had been hurt by Dementors twice after being ignored by 2 people in a row. Fudge's calm and confident expression just now was completely shattered. He avoided looking at Ms. Rosmerta and Professor McGonagall with some embarrassment. He picked up the glass and drank a few sips. The empty cup was handed to Ms. Rosmerta. Another butterbeer. His drinking capacity is not particularly good, and he has some serious business to do soon, so it is not suitable for him to consume too much alcohol. When Ms. Rosmerta returned, Fudge began to complain. I actually don't want to see such a scene. Dumbledore also told me before that this impact is very bad, but you also have to understand me. Since the establishment of Azkaban, no one has ever successfully escaped from it. But if he is allowed to escape justice, what will everyone think of the other prisoners in Azkaban? There will undoubtedly be doubts as to whether the remaining prisoners will escape, and therefore the Ministry of Magic's ability to hold these criminals and protect their safety. Professor Flitwick sighed. Well, without a doubt, yes, I mean someone will jailbreak. Adam took a silent sip of butterbeer, then frowned, rubbed his thumb on the handle of the wine glass, and the orange liquid in the quilt suddenly turned into amber. Happy water is still delicious. Yes. This is exactly what I was worried about. Fudge. Took a sip of butterbeer, and you also know, Sirius, what a dangerous person that is. As soon as this was said, everyone at the table fell into silence. Sirius, after pondering for a long time, Ms. Rosmerta sighed. Among the many people who took refuge in the mysterious man, he is probably the one who I can't believe the most. Who would have thought he would actually become such a person and kill so many people? Anyone who has ever seen no one who looked like him when he was in school would believe such a thing. Who says it isn't? But you know, that's not all. Rosmerta, Fudge, frowned. In fact, he has done more serious and worse things. Isn't it good for us to just sit here and listen? Couldn't help but whisper. What are you afraid of? We didn't eavesdrop. Bernard looked indifferent. There was no obstruction between them and the professor's table. There was originally a tree, but a classmate at another table used a magic spell to move it so the professors should have seen them. Since they continued to talk, it means that they are not afraid of being heard. It's strange. Why does everyone always ignore our existence? Adam couldn't help but glance at the badgers on the chests of their robes. It couldn't really be because their badger courtyard had a low sense of presence, right? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129. Letter from Parents. Someone at the next table added something, telling the story of how Sirius betrayed the Potters and Pettigrew died heroically to stop him. A story about a good brother's betrayal. Uther took a sip of butterbeer and looked at Bernard. What does our Mr. Persecutory Delusion think? It's not surprising. I've seen this kind of thing a lot. There's nothing new under the sun. Bernard squinted his eyes. Did Sirius finally reveal his true colors after hiding for many years, and Pettigrew burst out with courage? Or was Pettigrew the one who hid the deepest, causing Sirius to be wronged for decades? Or maybe the Potters designed this fake death, but in fact it was another person. There is a conspiracy, but Mr. and Mrs. Potter's home is protected by the fidelity charm. Uther, who had seen Adam's safe house, reminded, magic makes the already complicated truth even more complicated and difficult to discern. Bernard sighed. Why doesn't the Ministry of Magic just use Veritaserum to interrogate prisoners? Eugene suddenly spoke. The core of the Red Loyalty curse is that the secret keeper can never leak the secret, so it is not truly invulnerable. Cologne's face was filled with joy. Do you also think that Sirius betrayed the Potters? No, that would be too risky. Everyone knows that he is the secret keeper. He can choose a more hidden method. Besides, as far as I know, the secret keeper can be replaced. Do you remember what Professor McGonagall said? Cologne frowned and thought for a while, then picked out a suitable sentence from what Professor McGonagall said. Professor Dumbledore suspected that there was a mole among them. So you suspect that it was actually the mole who did the trick? Eugene nodded and looked at Butterbeer. Cologne scratched his head. I still think Sirius is more suspicious. If he didn't do it, why didn't he complain after staying in Azkaban for so many years? Isn't he just escaping from prison now? As for the appeal, Bernard sneered, if his appeal was successful, wouldn't it mean that the Ministry of Magic at that time arrested people at will when the evidence chain was incomplete? If the Minister of Magic had not been replaced, if he had the ability to successfully appeal, he would not have been arrested at that time. Azkaban, Uther, and Eugene were non-committal, and Cologne couldn't help but frown and looked at Adam. What about Adam? What do you think? I think I still have to choose myself as the secret keeper of the Chidden Loyalty Curse. Adam took a sip of happy water. Makes sense. Uther sighed. Put an end to the possibility of leaks from the source. Anything that comes out of your mouth or enters your ears is no longer a secret. If you really want to keep it a secret, the best way is not to tell anyone. After hearing Adam's opinion, everyone nodded. After returning to the dormitory, When everyone had eaten midnight snacks, washed up and prepared to go to bed, Bernard suddenly spoke. Do you all have a secret that you must never tell others? Just answer yes or no. Let me tell you my answer first. It is yes. In silence, Bernard waited for everyone's answers. No. The first one to speak was Cologne. Looking at the expression on his face as he was racking his brains to recall, you could tell that his answer was really sincere. Have. Eugene was the second to speak at this moment. Uther asked, can't you tell anyone? Yes, it doesn't count if you can say it to anyone. Uther glanced at Adam. No. Holding Zyok and CB in his left and right hands respectively, Adam responded with a smile. Have. Uther raised his eyebrows. Bernard lay on the bed the whole time, listened to everyone's answers with his eyes closed, and showed a satisfied smile. Thank you for your candor. After the days of going to Hogsmeade Village passed, everyone's study and life got back on track again. Adam watched with regret as the self-protection content of the last dance class, crossed out, of care of magical creatures was completed, and this part of his attention could finally be allocated to other things. For example, the diadem left by Rowena Ravenclaw has been in his hand for a long time. The soul fragments on this diadem have now been purified. I believe Professor Flitwick will like this gift. Just as Adam was thinking about how to make up the story about how he got the crown, Eugene slammed open the dormitory door and rushed in. Haha. They're coming back this Christmas. Who's back? Colin was busy writing the homework to be checked in class tomorrow, and he raised his head in confusion. It's none of your business. Write quickly. Bernard was entrusted by Cologne to keep an eye on him, who had to finish his homework before doing anything else. Now he was sitting next to Cologne. When he saw him raising his head, he pushed his head back. Are your parents coming back? Uther was standing sleepily in front of the floor-length mirror, combing his hair. Every time he woke up, his half-long hair would have a different hairstyle. That's right. They said this exploration went very well and they will come back to see us this Christmas. Eugene sat on the bed for a few seconds and suddenly stood up. Should I buy new clothes? Will they recognize me? Will I recognize them then? They should at least know where your home is, right? Bernard turned a page of the book in his hand and said without looking up, your family only has you and your grandmother, right? They can't mistake you for each other. Oh, right. Should I make some preparations? Eugene walked back and forth in the dormitory for a few times and looked at Adam. Adam, I want to buy some snacks and a cake. Are there any dishes that are easy to carry and can be eaten after eating? Yes. What kind do you want? Eugene was silent for a while. He remembered that he didn't know what his parents liked to eat, or he didn't know what his parents liked at all, but it doesn't matter. He still has his grandmother. Even if she doesn't know her daughter-in-law well because she has been away for many years, she can't possibly not know what her son likes to eat. Eugene immediately sent a letter to his grandmother, telling her that his parents would be back at Christmas, and asking her if she knew his parents' preferences, especially in terms of diet. After waiting for 3 days and some tormenting expectations, Eugene finally received a reply from his grandmother returning to the dormitory with the envelope. Eugene excitedly opened the envelope and took out a letter. However, when he saw the content on the letter, the excitement and smile on his face disappeared. What did you say? X4I, my grandma said. After all, he couldn't repeat what he just said. Eugene stretched out his trembling hands and handed the letter to everyone. Adam, who was sitting opposite Eugene, took the letter and looked at it, and his pupils shrank suddenly. Chapter 130 The Result of Divination. The letter paper is not big, so even if it is full, you cannot write many words, but the amount of information is explosive. The first sentence at the beginning was that Eugene's grandmother asked him not to go back for Christmas, and the following explanation was what shocked Adam so much. 2 months ago, your parents had an accident while exploring the ruins. Their bodies were returned by friends who were exploring the ruins with them, and they were buried directly after they were returned. The bodies were not damaged to the point that they could not survive. To the point of identification, I checked before that and it was indeed your parents. Eugene's grandmother explained that she never told him because she knew that Eugene had always had a strong admiration for his parents, and was afraid that Eugene would be hit too hard. She even planned to maintain the lie that her parents were exploring the ruins. If nothing else happened, she would keep it hidden until the day she passed away unexpectedly. Eugene actually received a letter from his parents before, so, that letter, was it from a ghost? Colin's little face turned pale with fright. Is It possible that Eugene's parents sent the letter first and then suffered an accident? Uther. Analyze. Will the owl delivery be delayed by 2 months? Bernard doesn't quite believe in this possibility. In contrast, I think the things in the ruins were so precious that your parents and their friends ended up having internal strife, and your parents ended up getting the things. Facing the four people's different looks, Bernard continued to talk about his reasonable inference. Maybe your parents are not dead, and their friends have set their sights on your grandma and you, hoping to get that thing through you. Or maybe your parents are indeed dead, and their friends are thinking that since they have already killed your parents, why not kill your grandma and you too, and get the rewards that your parents once had? It's also possible that your parents died, but their friends didn't get the thing, so they thought the thing was in your hands now and pretended to be your parents to deceive you. Wait, this last one is impossible, right? Cologne couldn't help but retort. The bodies of Eugene's parents were sent by friends, weren't they? Then why are you pretending to be his parents? The person who delivered the body and the person pretending to be Eugene's parents may not be the same group of friends. Bernard shook his head, then looked at Cologne. And when you say that, you think the other situations I mentioned are also reasonable, right? Cologne was speechless, looking at Eugene, whose face had lost all color. Adam comforted. What Bernard said is indeed possible, but these are not the only possibilities. It's just that Adam couldn't think of other possibilities so quickly. Not everyone can have a case database in their mind like Bernard and can directly access it after speaking. Adam turned over the letter. There wasn't much to say on the back of the letter. Eugene's grandmother said that she had contacted several friends and was preparing to wait for people who claimed to be Eugene's parents to come to her door if it was really Eugene's parents who came. Eugene's grandmother said that even if she broke their legs, she would make them stay at home until Eugene came home for the summer vacation and the family would meet before leaving. But if not, in short, at the end of the letter, she once again warned Eugene to stay at Hogwarts for Christmas and not to go back. Putting down the letter, Adam took out the sealed book and looked at Eugene. We are here now. We can't find anything with these letters. We can only rely on guessing. Why don't I try to divine your parents? It was not clear whether Adam's divination was accurate, but Eugene nodded anyway. The 10 Clow cards were placed in order, and Adam turned over the first card. Double card. Adam looked at this Clow card with confusion on his face. Double card. What does this mean? Adam had told Uther about his divination process before, and Uther whispered to Eugene next to him that the first Clow card was a reminder of the result. Knowing that Adam successfully divined Uther's danger last time, Eugene became obviously serious about this divination. So, what does this mean? Facing Eugene's question, Adam was silent for a moment. It's not clear yet. Let's see what happens next. After speaking, Adam turned over the 3 Clow cards in the middle row. Mirror card, illusion card, shadow card. Looking at these 3 Clow cards, Adam frowned. Now I can at least confirm that the person writing you the letter is not your parents. Mirror images, illusions, and shadows are all false. Eugene took a deep breath. Then are they still alive now? They must still be alive. Adam was categorical. What Eugene needed now was hope, and he didn't think the current card was as dangerous as Uther's last divination result last time. Uther's cards were filled with elimination cards, lost cards, and hidden cards. It was almost like having a blood red word danger on his head. As for Eugene's parents, at least for now, there are no Clow cards that portend a bad direction. Eugene nodded, and Adam turned over the last Clow card. The next target of the divination object is no card. Adam's face suddenly turned paler than Eugene's last time. He was lucky that there was no dead card in Clow's deck, but now he seems to have found a card that is no different from the dead card. None. Aren't you the Adam card? Why are you also in the Clow card pile? When Adam was shuffling the cards, he clearly did not put the no card and the love card in. Woo card floated, and the back of the card returned to the appearance of the Adam card. At the same time, Woo card on the card also opened his eyes. Adam, there is no such loophole in the Clow card divination. It will not appear because you have taken away a certain card. At the same time, even if you convert all the Clow cards into Adam cards, and mark the back of each Adam card, and everyone's back will still have the same pattern during divination. So, what happened? Eugene first saw Adam's face, and then heard Adam's words. Obviously he didn't want this card to appear, and couldn't help but feel uneasy in his heart. Adam looked at Eugene, and then couldn't help but look away when Eugene looked at him, unable to bear to explain the meaning of no card. Eugene, my Parents, are they? Calm down. Eugene, calm down first. Uther reached out and pressed Eugene's shoulders. How can I calm down? My parents are dead. They were not dead yet. The last one is a prediction of the future. Uther looked at Adam, who nodded quickly. Yes, that's right. Although the absence of cards symbolizes nothingness, the last one is the future goal of the divination target. As long as we stop them before then, Adam couldn't speak anymore, not to mention that they don't even know where Eugene's parents are now, but they are still in class. How can they stop Eugene's parents? Looking at the Clow cards on the table, tears welled up in Eugene's eyes at this moment. Adam put away the Clow cards on the table. I'll tell you again. Chapter 131 Sky Garden. Adam, even if you divine twice, the result will not change. It may even get worse. Sibi couldn't help but persuade Adam. I want to divine how I can save Eugene's parents. Isn't this divination about the same thing, Zio? Kay couldn't help but complain. Indeed, but it won't matter even if things get worse, right? Seeing Adam and the two cats communicating normally, everyone was no longer surprised. Uther, who could hear Ziok and Sibi's real words, had long been accustomed to the fact that they could speak ignoring the persuasion of the two sealed beasts. Adam still planned to start the second divination. Adam, wait a minute, Sibi suddenly called Adam. I still want to try. No, what I want to say is, maybe you can ask Amen. What, Amen? Fix the Ravenclaw you asked me to pay attention to. Sibi jumped onto the table and squatted in front of Adam. When Adam is determined to do what he wants and is about to make things irreversible, bring him to me and I will wait for him in the library. That's what the guy said. Why have I never heard you say this, Zio? Kay looked at Sibi in surprise. They clearly agreed to share any news they found with each other. Sibi rolled his eyes secretly. You can't find out anything except harassing the gadfly and the crescent-horned snorkeler. Do you want to get my results for free? This is the information I worked hard to get with my body. But thinking back, Sibi still frowned, because he hadn't thought about it until he spoke. This thought, and this memory, seemed to have grown out of his mind out of thin air. The five people looked at each other, and finally Adam stood up. I'll go and take a look. It's just a trip to the library. If Amen is just being mysterious, there's still time for divination. When Adam found Amen, he was building a pyramid with tarot cards. Seeing Adam sitting down opposite him, Amen raised his hand slightly to signal him to wait, and at the same time, he quickly built the pyramid. Looking at the finished pyramid, Amen breathed a sigh of relief and looked at Adam. What do you see in this pile of cards? Adam looked at the tarot card pyramid, which was well made but not good enough, as if it would fall down with a gust of wind. Every card was facing up, with only one exception, Wheel of Fortune. Amen's eyes lit up, and he looked at the only card facing up in the pyramid. You are indeed a different person. Do you want to learn divination from me, Adam? You, Tosby, asked me to come here just to tell me this. Speaking of this, Adam stood up and was about to leave. No. Sit down first. Why are you in such a hurry? Amen quickly reached out and grabbed Adam's sleeve. I want to tell you a rule of divination. Any observation you make about the future will actually affect the future. Adam paused as he was about to leave and looked at Amen. What exactly do you want to say? Speak clearly. The past is something that cannot be changed and has already happened. The present is something that is being determined and is happening. And the future is something that is constantly changing and may happen. Amen is still being a riddler, saying something that sounds mysterious. When you see the future, what may happen becomes something that has already happened, and the constantly changing future becomes unchangeable. What are you doing, Oko? Adam suddenly reached out and took off Amen's monocle, and Amen couldn't help but be stunned. Nothing, I'm just helping you take off these glasses first. Adam wrapped the metal chain around the monocle and put it on the table, pushing it away, then reached out to touch Amen's face, and moved all the way back, and fixed the back of his head before Amen could react. Otherwise, the lens will break and pierce into your eyes, which will be very painful. Amen. Seeing that Adam had raised his fist as big as a sandbag, Amen quickly changed his words. Don't do divination, or something will definitely happen. What will happen? Anyway, it's something very scary. I say. Let me go first. Madam Pants will be here soon. It's okay. Let's go to an abandoned classroom and have a good chat. Will divination inevitably lead to the future converging towards the divination result? Adam touched his chin and thought about this piece of information unexpectedly. Amen really has something. Why did I naturally think he was lying before? Forget it. Let's solve the problem of Eugene's parents first before worrying about this. That's right. So the more skilled the fortune teller is, the less likely he will seek those extremely detailed results, but will divine a general direction to leave room for himself. Amen took a sip of the peanut soup. Humph. He won't be fooled by this method of giving a sweet date after a slap in the face, but it should be said that this date is a bit sweet. Adam thought about it and gave up on using divination to find out how to save Eugene's parents, and instead planned to divine where Eugene's parents are now. But then he thought again. When he divined information such as geographical location, he seemed to lack the ability to interpret the divination results. But Adam, who had not taken divination classes properly because of the Clow Cards, raised his eyes. Isn't there a ready-made fortune teller here? Divination. The location of Eugene's parents? What happened to his parents? After asking, Amen received Adam's look of make-up, keep making up, and immediately got angry. Who do you think I am? Divination is not omnipotent, okay? And my divination is not very effective. Cough cough. The latter half of the sentence was a little vague, but after an awkward cough, he still said firmly, I can try. The left side of the mountain, the right side of the water, the top of the tree, the earth. After hearing the prophecy about Eugene's parents brought back by Adam, Cologne couldn't help but question, what the hell is this place? Is there really a place that is both on the tree and underground? That guy is not talking nonsense, right? It shouldn't be. Amen is not that kind of person. When it comes to life and death, Adam still believes in Amen's credibility. Maybe there really is. Eugene's expression was a little subtle. Have you heard of the Hanging Gardens? What? You mean the Hanging Gardens of Babylon? In fact, it should be the Assyrian dynasty. Adam's expression was subtle, but isn't the Hanging Gardens a misunderstanding caused by mistranslation? In fact, there are pillars supporting it. Adam was about to say that a garden floating in the air was simply a challenge to Newton's gravity, but think about it, he can open Newton's coffin with a floating spell, so he can only shut up and silently say awesome in his heart. The Hanging Gardens really exist, but now they have been buried deep underground. Eugene stood up and took out a well-preserved piece of letter paper from the bedside table. My parents didn't come back because they got the news of the ruins of the Hanging Gardens. Adam took the letter and looked at it, and couldn't help but raise his eyes slightly. These few spots on the letter, could it be? Meeting Adam's eyes and noticing the abnormality on the letter, Eugene's expressionless face slowly turned red. After discovering that Eugene's body was even shaking with embarrassment, Adam quickly returned his attention to the letter. Chapter 132 Bernard and number 039, S mysterious and wonderful tool. After a long time, Adam put down the letter. So that's it. The legendary Hanging Gardens built by ancient wizards are also considered wonders in the world of wizards. The possible treasures in them attract the curiosity and covetousness of countless people as professionals. After Eugene's parents confirmed that the ruins of the Hanging Garden had really been discovered, they quickly left behind their children, whom they had not seen for more than 10 years, and rushed there. It was considered, it's understandable, but when it comes to Adam himself, he is definitely unforgivable in any case. The ruins of the Hanging Garden, the original goal of Eugene's parents, do match the results of Amen's divination. So, your parents are probably still in the ruins now. Adam made a decision. Cologne frowned and said, that's not right. Did it? Eugene's grandmother confirmed the identity of the body before? Perhaps. She just briefly inspected the two corpses and then hurriedly buried them. Adam narrowed his eyes. Professor Snape once told me that when a person drinks a large amount of Polyjuice potion before he dies, the effects of the potion will last for a while even after he dies. Bernard's eyes lit up, and then he couldn't help but sigh. Sure enough, he really missed too many knowledge points by only learning the textbook contents. This is truly useful knowledge, but the question now is, even if we know where Eugene's parents are, what can we do? Uther shook his head. We can't ask for leave from the professors and say we are going to the ruins of the Hanging Garden. Don't forget the contract we signed before we returned for the first year. The Ministry of Magic is watching us. Bernard sighed. Eugene curled up on the sofa with his legs crossed and bit his lip. I'll go. Adam stood up. You? Are you sure your parents will ask for leave for you? For what reason? No need to ask for leave. Adam walked to the dressing mirror in the dormitory, stretched out his hand towards the mirror until it was in the mirror, and then pulled and Adam was pulled out of the mirror by Adam. The other 4 people in the dormitory, that is, was even a little speechless. Jing, I will trouble you to teach for me next. Just don't do anything in class. I will come back in the evening to pick up my homework. Good. Adam, known as Mirror, nodded and made the same sound as Adam. Uther saw this and said quickly, then we'll go with you. Can you help us change too? If you don't go to class, your final grades will probably be very ugly. Is now the time to worry about grades? Before anyone could say this, Adam continued to speak. Trace cannot track the magic of the Clow card, but it can track the magic you use. I also have a way to make it untraceable. I'll go with you, Uther continued, but what if you are followed by those people? Adam looked at Uther, and with one word, Uther collapsed back on the sofa like a deflated balloon. Yes, even if I went to Hogsmeade Village a few times before, it was because Hogsmeade Village is now closely monitored by the Ministry of Magic and Dementors. If I go to a lawless place like the Hanging Garden Ruins, Uther said, it may cause more trouble, although I still don't know how your parents are doing. Walking to Eugene, Adam put his hand on his shoulder, looked into his eyes and said, I will do my best to save them. Leave it to me. Ugh, Adam. Before setting off, Adam reconfirmed the current information. This is a photo of my parents. A trace of disappointment flashed in Eugene's eyes. Although it was taken more than 10 years ago, it should still be useful. As for the location of the Hanging Garden Ruins, you can ask my grandma at my house. Well, I will also try to find other channels, such as Mundungus, such as Nocturne Alley, such as the contact book left by Nico Flamel. If you can't find it, you can ask my mother. The discovery of the ruins of the Hanging Garden is not a trivial matter. Maybe she will have some news. Uther reminded he knew that Adam could travel between Egypt and England in an instant, so he was not afraid that this method would take time. Good. Adam nodded. It was indeed faster and more likely to get a message. Adam, be careful on the road, was about to say something when he suddenly heard Bernard's voice coming from behind. Give up. Give up, Cologne. Looked back. Wow. Bernard, what are you holding? Cologne quickly got out of the way, and saw Bernard struggling to pull out a rectangular box from under the bed, opening the combination lock on the box, revealing the gun barrel. Bernard wiped the sweat from his head and pointed to the contents of the box. SHL, this is a high-end product that I got when the furry bear was disintegrated. Take it with you. Although it only has one shot, this thing is definitely much more useful in the underground ruins than Avada. SHL, this term went around in Adam's mind for a few times, but he couldn't remember what it was. Is this an RPG? That's about right. Bernard scratched his head. He didn't expect Adam had never heard of this weapon. Do you know about the fuel air bomb? Exclamation mark. Yes, I know it very well. What is that? Uther looked at Adam with some doubts. Adam said with a complicated expression, it can turn the whole Hogwarts into a mushroom. Then, Adam looked at Bernard. How do you have such a thing? I talked about Hogwarts with my uncle before. Don't get me wrong, I told him as a fairy tale. What if I met a more than 10-foot-long snake in the castle, like the protagonist of the story? I don't know magic, and guns can't deal with such monsters. He said that this can definitely kill the snake, so I asked for one to die together. It can indeed kill the basilisk, but it can only be used to die together. You two are really daring to ask for it and give it to me. Even though he had bought some good stuff from Bernard's uncle, Adam was still shocked by his ability. He could even get a fuel air bomb. It seems that the order he placed before was too conservative. Fuel air bombs are also called subnuclear weapons. They mainly rely on the high temperature and high pressure generated after the explosion to kill the target. In a confined space, the high temperature lasts longer, the detonation wave reflects and overlaps between the walls, and the overpressure value is far higher than that in an open space in the underground ruins. The lethality of this thing is not much different from that of nuclear weapons. No carbon-based creature's body can withstand this level of attack. It is indeed better than Avada, although using this thing may mean taking Eugene's parents away. Who can refuse a fuel air bomb? Adam put away the box and silently used the double card to copy a few boxes. He planned to return it to Bernard after he came back and said that he didn't use it. Wait. Where did Bernard take this thing out before? Adam looked at Bernard's bed and couldn't help asking, what else did you put under the bed? Not even a nuclear warhead, right? Bernard blushed slightly. Actually, it's nothing, just some small things for self-defense. Chapter 133, Finding the Relics. I've already said there aren't many, Bernard said helplessly as he watched Adam drag out the boxes under his bed and open them one by one. There weren't many indeed, just a Maxim and replacement parts, 8 boxes of bullets, half a box of white phosphorus grenades and half a box of stun grenades. I didn't expect you to bring non-lethal weapons. Adam took out a stun grenade and tossed it in his hand. After all, in school, if possible, don't kill people for the time being. Bernard pulled out a book from under his pillow. I've been studying wizard lore recently, and I think there are many loopholes. Cough. There are many places that can be flexible, so I won't be afraid then. Why? Don't you tell me clearly what you're not afraid of then. Adam's expression was a little subtle, but it wasn't a bad thing for Bernard to study wizard law. By then, he could rely on himself to avoid going to Azkaban, and it would save him. Cough. Voldemort would save people based on Adam's understanding of Bernard. Although this guy can be tortured and handcuffed, he is still a good person. These means are at most used for self-defense. There is no need to worry about him doing bad things. Let him be. To be honest, Adam can actually understand this feeling of lack of security after being a muggle for so many years and suddenly coming to the wizarding world anyway. After checking that there are no other dangerous items in Bernard's arsenal that can blow up the entire dormitory, Adam did not say anything except copying some for himself. I'm leaving. As soon as the voice fell, Adam disappeared on the spot. Everyone looked at the remaining Adam in the dormitory and hesitated for a while, not knowing what to say. Just treat me as Adam these days. Adam, disguised as the mirror card, showed a gentle smile, which immediately scared the 4 people. No, you still don't show such a terrifying expression. Every time Adam comes up with a little trick, he will show such a smile. Mirror? Question mark. Is the world changing too fast, and the smile has become an expression that symbolizes terror? On the other side, Adam went directly to Egypt, and by the way, he helped Uther visit his relatives and see what the situation was like here. As soon as he landed, Adam was shocked by the ruins in front of him. His destination for teleportation was Uther's house. Fortunately, Adam saw Tuaya later. She was angrily saying something to the people around her at the edge of the ruins. After waiting for a while, Adam found an opportunity. Mrs. Tuaya's eyes became sharp in an instant, and a silent spell blasted in the direction of the voice. The raging fire devoured the gravel, and Adam couldn't help but twitch his eyes. Although we had agreed on a way to judge the authenticity before, I couldn't help but want to praise Aunt Tuaya for being a heroine and decisive. Huh? It's really you, Adam. Seeing the barrier that remained unshakable under the burning of the fiend fire, Tuaya waved her wand to put away the fiend fire, and frowned in confusion. Shouldn't Hogwarts still be in class now? Why are you here? I want to ask, Auntie, do you have any news about the Hanging Gardens? Besides, Adam glanced at the ruins not far away. What is this? As you can see, it was attacked. Tuaya looked at the ruins and frowned. It's just a desperate move. Don't worry, it will be solved soon. Don't tell Uther, okay? Adam agreed readily, and as for not telling Uther, he agreed, but little Cosby and Jean didn't agree. The Hanging Gardens. The database does have records about this legendary miracle, but I think you don't want that. But the most recent one. I seem to have some impression. Come with me. Tuaya walked a few steps, turned around and found that Adam was gone. Auntie, just go ahead. I'll follow you. Tuaya was a little surprised at Adam's ability to disillusion, but she still took Adam all the way to the office of the Minister of Magic. After closing the door, Tuaya looked at Adam, who had revealed his figure. With a complicated look in her eyes, she had prepared an excuse to trigger the alarm along the way, but Adam really came here with her unimpeded after he became invisible. Adam also has the authority to travel freely in the Ministry of Magic, without receiving Tuaya's eyes. Adam waited for a while and got the result. Tuaya really has information about the appearance of the ruins of the Hanging Gardens. From the location point of view, the ruins of the Hanging Gardens are in today's Iraq, and are now surrounded by official and private forces from various countries. Even though the Egyptian Ministry of Magic can't spare any hands, it still sent a team to observe the situation. Interestingly, according to the news from 3 days ago, the treasures in the ruins of the Hanging Gardens have not been obtained by anyone yet. To be precise, no one who has entered the ruins of the Hanging Gardens has come out yet. This is interesting. No one has come out yet. Why has someone already targeted Eugene's family? Anyway, at least the location information of the ruins was obtained. Adam thanked him and disappeared directly on the spot too. I looked at the place where Adam disappeared, with some regret in her eyes. She wanted to ask Adam about Uther's recent situation. Now it seems that Adam is quite busy. I hope that Uther, the brat, will not cause any trouble. The location of the ruins of the Sky Garden is not close to any place Adam has been to. Fortunately, Adam has the flying card and the driving card. The combination of the two makes Adam like to call it the youth version of the Speed Force. If there is no shield to protect Adam, he will even be torn apart by the air around him. On the fourth day of the journey, Adam held up the shield and sat sideways on the dark staff with its wings spread out. While flying, he controlled the shorthand quill to write the homework due on Monday. Suddenly, a group of tents appeared at the end of Adam's sight, and Adam's eyes fell on the flag above one of the tents, the Magical Congress of the United States. There is a magic wand in the center of the capital M, which is the flag of the Magical Congress of the United States. Adam couldn't help but complain about how the US military in the wizarding world is everywhere. While complaining, Adam has already approached the group of tents. With a glance, there are quite a few forces in this area. In addition, there are many small tents without flags. I don't know if they belong to private forces or something else, but Adam has no time to care about these now. Finding Eugene's parents is the first priority. On the left side of the mountain, on the right side of the water, as far as the eye can see, there is water, but no mountain, not even a small earthen slope. According to the previous news from the Egyptian Ministry of Magic, no one who entered the ruins has come out yet. Obviously, is it really inside the ruins? In the center of the tent group, there is a dark hole, and dozens of ropes hang from the hole, extending into the seemingly bottomless hole. Do wizards use ropes to descend? Adam landed at the hole, took out a candy and threw it forward. The parabola drawn by the candy stopped abruptly above the hole, and it fell directly down. Instead, the magic of gravity, the magic around, was not flowing irregularly like other places. Adam immediately thought of the hanging gardens, the miracle that floats in the air and never falls to the ground in the legend of the wizarding world's suspension and gravity, plus this location. No wonder everyone asserts that this ruins is the former Hanging Gardens. It was just hard to imagine that the magic of the Hanging Gardens was still working today. Was it someone who was still controlling it, or was it actually some kind of alchemical creation, just like the Goblet Fairy Fire? Thinking of this, Adam grew wings on his back, and with a light flap, he flew into the cave. Chapter 134, Monster in the Lake. The depth of this big hole exceeded Adam's expectations. At first, Adam flew down little by little. The gravity magic around him naturally did not break through the protection of the shield, and then he let himself fall freely anyway. He had a shield, so he would not die after experiencing the thrill of bungee jumping without a rope while falling rapidly. Adam couldn't help but think about bringing his good brothers to try it next time after his heartbeat accelerated. Unfortunately, no one he knew was afraid of heights. Just when Adam was thinking about bad things, he splashed into the water, and broke through the water layer all the way to the bottom of the water before stopping. Adam stepped into the water after coming to his senses. And the huge reaction force brought by the force card pushed Adam directly out of the water. I don't know what happened. It was still daytime, and there was no cover on this big hole. The light was getting darker and darker from the hole. Now it was pitch dark, spreading his wings in the air and stopping his body. Adam waved his hand to sprinkle a fluorescent light, and then looked around. There was a large lake at his feet, which seemed to be smaller than the hole above. Several ropes were hanging from the top to the shore. So coming down from the hole was the official way to enter. Adam noticed that there seemed to be a few fewer ropes than at the hole above, and the 3 ropes on the ground seemed to indicate the fate of the missing ropes. In places like underground ruins, safety measures are always easy to be damaged, right? However, although there were traces of people falling around the broken ropes, there were only some broken flesh and blood, but no main body bones left. But there was a bloodstain extending towards the central lake. Adam looked at the lake at his feet along the bloodstain, and the lake seemed to be lit up with red lights. Adam had an inexplicable illusion that he was meeting a pair of eyes. After a few seconds of silence, the water surface suddenly broke open, and a huge mouth like an abyss bit towards Adam in midair. Tisk, why is this scene so familiar? I seem to have seen it somewhere. Each of the 2 fangs sticking out of the mouth is more than 3 meters long. Under the dim light of the sign, you can even see the blood and a few pieces of cloth on the fangs. This scene, which is enough to scare most people, really makes Adam's heartbeat faster. I remember it. You have to be more courageous. Don't learn from that damn omit. You must be flesh and blood, with A bit of excitement in his words, Adam waved the dark staff, and a cold current fell from the sky and poured on the monster that jumped out of the water. Most of the body that jumped out of the water was completely frozen, along with the lake surface below. Adam flew closer and saw the original appearance of the giant beast. Huh? I seem to have seen you in a documentary. After some recollection, Adam was a little dumbfounded. This silver body, the red beard on the top of the head, the luminous organs on the body, the familiar long body. Although it is a little bigger, is this guy really not an oarfish? He thought it would be some new magical animal, food, material. Oh, the ball dodgers are also ordinary animals in the cognition of muggles, so it's okay. However, in his memory, the oarfish is not a freshwater animal. Could it be that the lake under his feet is connected to the sea? Using the small card to put the frozen cutlass fish into the bag, Adam looked at the lake water, but he didn't taste it to see whether it was salty or fresh. He caught an enlarged version of the oarfish, and there were traces of predation in its mouth, but this guy was obviously not the guy who caught the corpse into the lake. Its body structure destined it to be unable to do such a difficult predation method. In other words, there is a high probability that there are still surprises, food, materials, in the lake. It's a pity that Adam still has something to do, so he can only land on the shore with some regret and search for traces of people walking. This place is very empty. There are no passages in all directions, but a completely unobstructed space. It is like an underground world, which greatly increases the difficulty of Adam's search. This won't work. At least we need to confirm the direction. Huh? As soon as the get out of class was over, Amin saw Adam blocking him at the end of the corridor from a distance. Thinking that it was not good, Amin planned to run away, but Adam obviously would not give him a chance to run. Come on, let me ask you something. Hugging Amin's shoulders enthusiastically, Adam nodded to Amin's roommate. Can I borrow Amin? No problem, Amin. I'm going back to the dormitory first. The roommate, who was often fed some sweets by Adam, gave a friendly smile, and did not react to Amin's eye hints, perhaps because he did not see it. Brother, even if I am useful, I won't use it like this, right? How many times has this happened? Amin, who was taken to the abandoned classroom, was a little collapsed. I can't run away. I can't run away at all. The power of hermit and magician is ineffective against him. As for fighting, Amin, who had a black eye after being hit with a chariot, and another black eye after being hit with a strength, said that he might as well run. Originally, he thought it would be interesting to find someone who could greatly influence his fate, but now he just wanted to go back to the time when he first became interested in Adam and catch him and beat him up. Do you like it? If you don't like it, don't go and kill yourself. Didn't you take the initiative to come to me at that time? Adam raised his eyebrows. I just want to ask in which direction Eugene's parents are. It's not an excessive request. Hearing Adam's request, Amin breathed a sigh of relief. So that's it. Didn't I do divination for you before? The left side of the mountain, the right side of the water. Adam recalled the divination result and couldn't help frowning. That place is a lake, with vast space in all directions. How to distinguish left and right? Why don't you tell me east, west, south and north, brother? Can the divination result be customized? The result I got is already very good, not even a long poem or a riddle. Okay, I'll look for it again. Adam let go of Amin, and just when Amin was relieved, he turned his head again. Don't avoid me these days, I might come back to find you. After that, he disappeared on the spot with Amin's eyes twitching. Amin noticed that there was an extra bag on the table beside him. When he opened it, it was full of gold galleons. Oh, you underestimate me. Am I the kind of person who is blinded by money? Amin grabbed a handful of gold galleons and threw them down, then found that there seemed to be something else under the bag. Swiping the gold galleons aside, it turned out to be a stack of rectangular paper coupons, shining with a similar light to gold galleons, and it said, Huanmeng Dessert Workshop Product Exchange Coupon. Oh, why didn't you take this thing out earlier? Amin put the exchange coupon into his pocket and picked up the bag of gold galleons. Chapter 135. The Musician Gandalf. Back above the large lake in the underground ruins, Adam released light spots that spread out in all directions. The left side of the mountain, the right side of the water. No matter which direction it is in the middle of the mountain and the water, right? The water is at your feet, so just find the mountain. The light spots scattered in all directions, but until the light spots disappeared from the end of his sight, Adam did not see any mountains. Isn't the light sign bright enough? There's nothing we can do about it. Adam took out a Clow card. On the card, A woman wearing a crown and elegant clothes was holding the sun with one hand and the clouds with the other. Seal. Release. Huh? Just? When Adam was about to unseal the light card and completely illuminate the underground world, he heard noises from the distance and turned to use the magic of the magic card to hide himself. Not long after, two figures holding lanterns walked out of the darkness. The weak light of the lanterns was not even as bright as the light spots created by the light signs, and could only illuminate a distance of less than 2 steps around them. After looking around, the two lowered their voices and said to each other, "Are you sure that the light just came from here?" "I'm sure, although I don't know which force the two people belong to. At least they speak English, which is gratifying." After walking a few more steps, one of the two didn't want to go any further. "Are we still going to move forward? Even if someone is sent down from above, what will happen?" As he spoke, he couldn't help but take a few steps back. "Anyway, even if someone comes down, it's just a few more people trapped here. Maybe that person has been eaten by now, by the Kraken, or something else. God knows what's in that lake monster." Adam's eyes lit up when he was hiding. Kraken. This thing is also called the Kraken. It is a specialty of the Norwegian Sea. I don't know why it appears here. The prototype of this thing in the previous life was probably a giant squid, but the Kraken in this world is indeed a magical animal, shaped like a giant octopus that is tens of meters long. If this thing dragged the fallen wizard's body into the lake, it would be very possible, but that was not what Adam was more concerned about. After trying the giant squid, Adam still feels charm about the Kraken. Speaking of which, this lake can actually hold so much delicious food. Oh no, it's a giant sea creature. The space underneath should be much larger than it looks, and it should be connected to the ocean. Could it be that he has found all blue? After Eugene's parents are rescued, he must explore this place. In this moment, the man had convinced his companion. Obviously the other party didn't really want to get close to the lake. Wizards do indeed occupy an absolutely dominant position in the ecological niche of the magical world, but that is not only because of the endless spells of wizards, but also because of the numerical gap. To put it simply, magical animals that are stronger than wizards cannot be born by wizards, and magical animals that are stronger than wizards cannot be born by wizards. And now in this underground ruins, there are only a few wizards, and they are still at odds with each other. It is impossible for the two of them to deal with the Kraken alone. Besides, as his companion said, God knows there are still more monsters in this lake. What's the matter? That Kraken can't be so big just by drinking water, right? The two of them stepped back a long way, then amplified their voices and shouted several times symbolically toward the front. "Is there anyone? Are they the reinforcements that just came down, or a private expedition that sneaked down? Did you release the light just now? No matter who you are, if you are still alive, please respond. If you try, you will find that we can't get up now. We must work together to have a chance to escape." After shouting several times, there was no response. The two sighed and prepared to leave. As a result, when I turned around, I saw an old man with white beard and white hair, wearing a white robe and holding a white cane, looking at them quietly. Exclamation mark. As soon as a syllable came out of his throat, a sharp exclamation was covered back by the owner of the throat. The wizard who had just persuaded the other person to leave covered his mouth with one hand and his chest with the other, and the lantern in his hand dropped. When he got to the ground, he looked like he was almost frightened to death. The other wizard was also very frightened, but he was not slow to pull out his wand. Armor protection. When in doubt, you can use your shield first. You can. He looks experienced. There is a clear difference between him and the person next to him. The old man was Adam after the transformation. He spoke slowly. "Don't be afraid. Didn't you just ask me to come here?" The gentle voice was like gurgling water, calming the panic in the hearts of the two. The two looked at the deep and bright eyes and unconsciously thought along the lines of each other's words. "We asked you, are you the one who released the light ball just now?" Adam said nothing and paused, the dark staff in his hand in their eyes. The top of the white cane in the old man's hand lit up with a familiar light. "Wait a minute, there can't be such a bright light coming from here." Before the more timid wizard could finish speaking, the sound of rolling waves was heard in the distance under the fluorescent light. The two wizards turned pale. "Run!" There was no need to lower their voices now. The two wizards ran away. After running out for a while, they remembered that someone was still there, and they quickly looked back. "I can only say that I have some conscience, but not much." Fortunately, the two turned around and saw the old man with white beard following them closely. When he saw them turn around, he smiled at them. Looking very relaxed after running for a few minutes, the three stopped. Your physical strength, is really good. Panting, the two wizards looked at Adam, whose breathing was not disordered, in disbelief. But think about it, to be able to climb down such a long rope with bare hands, the physical strength must not be too bad. Unlike them, who sit in the office most of the time, if it weren't for their companions helping them, they would have fallen halfway before. I usually pay attention to exercise. Adam smiled and looked at the two. Haven't you asked your names yet? My name is Zora. Yahweh, what about you? These two names are so fake that they are even a little perfunctory. Alarin. Gandalf. The two wizards looked at each other. This old man was quite honest. But they still had to ask what they should ask. So, Mr. Gandalf, can I ask about your origins? We have no ill intentions. As we said before, you should have known that there's anti-apparition magic here, and even the door key cannot be used. Yahweh sighed. Now we who are still alive have reached a temporary agreement. No matter what, let's get out first. Most of the first batch of people who came down were from the Ministry of Magic of various countries. They were just workers. The interests they fought for would not be in their hands in the end. It was not worth it to sacrifice their lives for work as for those private expedition teams. They knew better that saving their lives was the most important thing. Otherwise they would not live to explore the ruins of the Sky Gardens. This news was only given to the most experienced expedition teams. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136 Underground Exploration Part 1. I am a scholar, magic. Card plus sound card, combined with the love card. Adam would like to call it acquaintance before meeting. Gandalf's words were so convincing. In order to let the other party understand the current situation and join them, the two of them told Gandalf all the information they knew, including the areas they've explored, what they've encountered along the way, and their current stronghold. You encountered a mountain range. Adam's eyes lit up. In which direction? Oh, over there. Zola pointed in the direction, then hesitated, but because the mountain range looked too high, we were worried that there might be danger inside, so we didn't continue to explore. Thank you. I plan to go there and have a look. Do you want to come with me? After hearing the news, Adam immediately planned to set off. Okay, the two agreed without thinking, but after following Gandalf for a long time, they suddenly came to their senses. It seemed that they were planning to get each other to cooperate. The two looked at each other and then looked at Gandalf. Forget it. It's been so long and I don't have a clue anyway. Why not follow this scholar? Maybe he can find a way out. Now that there are plants here, we can turn up the lights. The two saw plants starting to appear on the roadside, so they took out the lantern that had been extinguished when they escaped and lit it again. After some adjustments, the light of the lantern became much brighter than before. It can probably illuminate a dozen steps around, which is slightly better than fluorescent flashing. Adam looked at the magic prop with some disgust, and used the magic of the lamp card to create dozens of light balls. After extinguishing the lantern, the two of them put it away as if nothing had happened, secretly scolding the logistics department to avoid embarrassment. Zola explained, there were some light-seeking flying insects in the area around the lake just now. I don't know what kind of animals they are, but they are highly poisonous, so we almost don't light the lights, and even if we light the lights, they won't be too bright. Adam looked back thoughtfully. Maybe Professor Scamander would also be interested in this place, Yahweh then said, but those flying insects don't come to areas with plants. You see, Adam followed the direction of Yahweh's finger and saw clusters of weed-like plants on the ground. In the middle of each cluster was a slender pole with a red fruit on the top. This fruit is edible and is everywhere in this area. We all survive by eating this fruit, Yahweh said, picked one and threw it into his mouth, and then his facial features tightened. There's no downside to it except a little sourness. Thanks, Gandalf picked a fruit, twisted it in his hands, and then threw it into his mouth, putting the fruit into the satchel. Adam and the two of them walked forward. Don't eat this randomly. Wait until I get back to study it. It's okay to grow in a place with no light. Many magical plants can do this, such as the devil's net, but the growing location is at a significant distance from the water source. Either there is a problem with the plant or there is a problem with the water. Combined with the fact that those flying insects will not fly here, it is obvious that there is a high probability that there is something wrong with the plants in the satchel. Sibby and Zio pulled the fruit on their meat pads, feeling the magic inside, with serious expressions. Okay, Adam nodded, secretly continuing forward. There are obviously more types of plants, and at the same time, there is light all around. A plant with a glow stick-like shape begins to appear all around. If it doesn't glow, it looks a bit like a calamus. Beautiful, right, Zola? And Yaoi smiled and stretched out their hands to squeeze the glowing stick-like structure. Dots of light spurted out from the end, like pollen. Adam opened his shield to block all the pollen. Even magical animals comply with certain laws of evolution. Since this plant wants to shine, it must have a purpose for it. Is it to attract other things to spread pollen for it, or to attract food? Better be careful, Adam kindly reminded him, feeling that with these two people's tendency to take action whenever they saw, it seemed that they wouldn't be able to guide him for too long. Before finding Eugene's parents, he still expected to let the two of them get away. There are people exploring the way for him. It's okay. We have been here before. There is no danger in this area up to the mountains. Zola waved her hand. Several explorers believe that these plants are ornamental and edible varieties, specially cultivated by the wizards who built the hanging gardens. There are more ahead. This guess does make some sense. Adam sighed. He had asked the two of them before, and they did not know Eugene's parents. These people did not unite as soon as they arrived at the underground ruins. They fought openly and secretly at first. But after more than a month of survival in the ruins wilderness, they finally met at the stronghold closest to the entrance and reached a consensus. At this time, compared to when they first entered the ruins, no one knows how many people were lost. Something happened to Eugene's parents probably during this process. Are there any trees in front of here? The left side of the mountain, the right side of the water, the top of the tree, the soil. Now there are clues about the mountain and water. Although it is not clear whether it is the mountain and the water, it would be better if there are trees. A tree. There should be one. Yahweh recalled something. That mountain is bare, without any vegetation, but we saw bird droppings on the road. There should be trees nearby for them to build nests. But we didn't see any on the road before. Birds don't necessarily have to build nests on trees. Having said that, Adam still planned to follow and take a look. Please lead the way, Adam. How is it? Although he knew that Adam would come back on time every time, Eugene still waited on the sofa early, and when he saw Adam appear, he hurried to ask, I found news about the mountain, but it hasn't arrived yet. It's a pity to run to the top of the mountain, not to mention that Adam can't see it now. He just heard about it. But don't worry, I found that if there is danger in the ruins, it is very dangerous. According to the people I met, all the dangers they encountered will quickly kill people, such as monsters in the lake, or poisonous flying insects and the like. Adam comforted Eugene. When I divined before, your parents were obviously still alive, so nothing will happen for a while. In any case, it was a comfort. Eugene nodded. By the way, where's the mirror? Adam looked around. Why is the mirror not there today? Chapter 137 Reliable Adam, Crisis Limited Edition. Forward, there was a hint of subtlety in everyone's expressions. Oh no, it's her, Uther, who already knew Mirror's true identity, at least looked like a girl, hesitated for a moment before speaking. I'm dating for you, huh? For a moment, Adam felt that he couldn't understand English. This date should be that date, right? She doesn't seem to be very good at rejecting others. Bernard struggled with his words and explained, you would directly reject anyone who confessed to you before, but Jing's rejection was too tactful. So, those guys thought that Adam's attitude had relaxed, so they continued to pursue him, such as sending love letters and chocolates. What was funny was that the chocolates he sent were bought from Adam's shop. Faced with such an obvious gift, the mirror politely refused to accept it, but then those people began to ask Adam to go out to play, such as libraries, greenhouses, Mrs. Putifu's tea house and so on. Of course, none of these were openly called dates, and Jing obviously didn't understand the drunkard's intentions behind them, so he basically agreed to them out of the desire to be friendly to his classmates. So Jing's schedule is a bit full right now, and she doesn't even have time to come back and talk to Adam today. Right now Jing is holding Adam's face, studying in the library with a certain Ravenclaw eaglet. Why? Didn't you tell me before? Didn't I see you were busy before? Cologne would say that they were actually a little happy eating melon, and they forgot for a while, and Jing doesn't understand anything. When you go to the library, you really read. When you go to the greenhouse, you really take care of the plants. When you go to the tea house, you really drink tea and chat. Nothing will go wrong. As a result, the day after Cologne said this, Professor Dumbledore blocked them on their way out of class. When Adam comes back, please tell him to come to my office tomorrow afternoon. After Professor Dumbledore finished speaking, he left, leaving 4 people and a Clow Card looking at each other. After returning to the dormitory, Colin looked at his glasses. How did Professor Dumbledore figure it out? That's Dumbledore after all. Uther sighed. Thanks to Grindelwald's feat of waging war in the Ministry of Magic all over the world, Dumbledore was quite famous even in Egypt. Looking at Eugene, who was full of worry, Uther comforted. It's okay. Trust Adam. He will solve the problem. Don't worry. I will solve it. Back in the dormitory, Adam's expression remained normal after hearing about Professor Dumbledore's visit to him. If Professor Dumbledore disagrees, rest assured. Looking at Adam's firm gaze, Eugene nodded. Feeling calmed down unconsciously, Uther looked at this scene and couldn't help but sigh. Adam was still as reliable and reassuring as ever, well, at least in such a matter of life and death. On the way to the principal's office the next afternoon, Adam was not in a bad mood, judging from Professor Dumbledore's experience of allowing Professor Quirrell and Professor Lockhart to mess around in Hogwarts. Professor Dumbledore most likely wouldn't mind too much if he skipped class to save others, and besides, there was no one else know about his absence from school. Seeing Adam's arrival, the gargoyle at the door made way for Adam. Oh? This is the first time I can enter the principal's office without a password. Standing on the spiral staircase that moved upward like an escalator, Adam soon saw the situation in the principal's office. In addition to the principal, Professor Dumbledore, there was also Professor Lupin. It looked like he and Professor Dumbledore were drinking mead, and there were some half-eaten desserts on the table. Adam couldn't help but be stunned for a moment when he saw him. Why was he here? Adam, you're finally here. Seeing Adam arriving, Professor Dumbledore said with a smile, Professor Lupin and I were praising your dessert-making skills just now. More delicious than the candies at Honeydukes candy shop, Professor Lupin added. Thanks for the compliment. In fact, I have purchased Honeydukes candy shop from Ambrosio, and it will be reopened under the name of Dream Dessert Workshop in the near future. After hearing Adam's words, Professor Dumbledore, who knew whose inheritance he had inherited, was not too surprised, but Professor Lupin almost choked on the candy in his mouth. A third grader buys Honeydukes candy store. Did he just hear some horror story? So, Professor Dumbledore, what do you want to see me for? Actually, it's Professor Lupin who wants to find you. Professor Dumbledore winked at Adam. Professor Lupin is very curious about who made the wolfsbane potion he drinks every month and wants to have a chat with him. It dawned on Adam that he seemed to have forgotten something. Sorry, I haven't started brewing the wolfsbane potion for next month yet. It will be ready tomorrow. No need. The nausea and vomiting rising from the depths of his soul overcame the surprise that the third-year student was capable of brewing wolfsbane potion. Professor Lupin stopped Adam from continuing to speak with a look on his face. I've already planned to contact Professor Slughorn. After finishing speaking, Professor Lupin endured it, but still couldn't help speaking. Speaking of which, there is a question I have wanted to ask you for a long time. Why does the wolfsbane potion you brew for me taste so yuck special? Huh? Are you not used to it, Professor Lupin? Because the wolfsbane potion itself doesn't taste very good, but I specially adjusted the taste. Adam blinked with an innocent look. These wonderful flavors are sometimes very popular. For example, Professor Dumbledore likes the taste of bean juice. It is a very authentic taste. Professor Dumbledore? ? I'm not. I don't. Stop talking nonsense. Just as Professor Dumbledore was about to speak, he saw a stack of golden paper coupons quietly appearing on the golden plate in front of him, which seemed to have fantasy written on them. He took away the coupons on the table at a speed that did not match his age. When Professor Lupin turned to look at him in confusion, Professor Dumbledore nodded seriously. Yes, it tastes good, very authentic. However, he no longer had the same attitude as before to help Lupin find someone to prosecute him. Vomit, recalling the taste and the quantity of several bottles given by Adam, Professor Lupin couldn't help but cover his mouth. Okay, the world is big and full of wonders, remembering that Professor Dumbledore loved eating cockroaches before, and now he loves drinking bean vomit juice. It is not completely impossible, don't you like those flavors, Professor Lupin? What about stinky tofu? What about durian, wolfsbane? Potion is a bit thick, the texture is a bit like yogurt, and it is made into durian flavor. It must be very exciting. Never mind, Professor. Lupin refused resolutely, but after thinking about it for a while, he still felt a little unwilling to give up. Isn't there a more normal flavor? Even the original flavor will do, although Hogwarts paid a premium to Adam. The money collected from Professor Lupin was a discount. School board, MMP, if possible. Professor Lupin would of course prefer to buy it at Hogwarts instead of using the money he finally earned as a professor to consign Professor Slughorn to a high price. If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't swallow the wolfsbane potion stewed with lotus root and coptis this month, who would be in trouble with his own money? Chapter 138 Psy in the Principal and Number 039's office. Next, Adam and Professor Lupin had a friendly discussion about the taste of wolfsbane potion. Adam promised that the flavor of wolfsbane potion would be the flavor of the products in his shop, and Professor Lupin left with satisfaction. Well, hopefully Professor Lupin will enjoy next month's pure dark chocolate flavored wolfsbane potion. Well, let's get down to business. Adam, Professor Dumbledore looked at Adam with still kind eyes. Can you tell me where you have been during this time? The ruins of the Hanging Gardens, Professor. I'm sorry that I haven't been in school these days, but Eugene's parents are trapped there now, and no one he knows can help him except me. After Adam finished speaking, he looked at Professor Dumbledore. Perhaps, Professor, you know something about the ruins of the Hanging Garden, Professor. Dumbledore frowned. First of all, I'm glad that you are willing to tell me the truth, but I have not received any news about the Hanging Garden, and I can't help you. Adam was stunned. How could it be? I clearly saw the flag of the British Ministry of Magic around there. It seems that some people don't want me to know the news about that ruins, Professor. Dumbledore narrowed his eyes slightly. His eyes flickered for a while, and then he looked at Adam. What's the situation there right now? To put it bluntly, it's terrible. It can't be worse. The entrance to the ruins is a large hole with a diameter of more than 100 meters that goes straight up and down. It has anti-apparition, anti-portkey, and various dangerous creatures and organ. Adam shook his head and answered truthfully, the first advance team, composed of ministries of magic and private expedition teams from various countries, have been trapped inside for at least a month. Now they seem to have given up exploring and are uniting together to find a way to leave first. Sounds really bad. So how did you get back, Professor? Dumbledore couldn't help but be a little surprised that Adam had actually found out so much information. And from what he heard, he had already entered the ruins. Facing Professor Dumbledore's question, Adam looked at Fawkes. In addition to apparition and portkeys, there are many ways to travel through space in this world, such as Fawkes. There is no magic in this world that can stop a phoenix that wants to leave, right? Fawkes raised his head proudly and let out a series of loud, high-pitched chirps, like celestial music. Professor Dumbledore's facial features could not help but shrink with soreness. The last time he heard Fawkes's cry was when he first signed a contract with Fawkes when he was young. It's really a waste of time, but it's okay. He will definitely not have any descendants. His younger brother's only descendant was also that year. His sister is even more. Alice, the Dumbledore family has no descendants, so it is a good thing that Fawkes can find a new contractor. He has not forgotten the diary from last semester. Voldemort's shadow is approaching, and if nothing goes wrong, he won't have much time left. In an instant, Professor Dumbledore's mind flashed through the long past and the near future. More than 100 years of life passed by in his mind, and finally turned into a breathy sigh. In principle, Hogwarts does not allow students to leave the castle at will during their studies, but considering that you do have the ability to protect yourself, pay attention to safety. Thank you, Professor. I will pay attention. Contrary to Adam's expectation, Professor Dumbledore revealed the matter so gently. Could it be that the power of the love card has grown again? After Adam left the principal's office, Professor Dumbledore glanced at Fawkes. After receiving the signal, the phoenix disappeared in a burst of flames and disappeared without a trace. After sending Fawkes, Professor Dumbledore opened the drawer of his desk and took out a stack of letters inside. The Triwizard Tournament. The Triwizard Tournament was once suspended due to the high student mortality rate. Now it is restarted under the leadership of the Ministry of Magic. Of course, it can not only involve 3 schools. The Ministry of Magic from Germany and France will also have many people coming, but they are not coming to Ho-Ho. Just Hogwarts originally, this kind of thing was not strange. Except for the sudden restart of the Triwizard Tournament, which was a bit confusing, the other procedures were in accordance with the regulations, and Professor Dumbledore did not become suspicious. But combined with the news brought by Adam, it is difficult for Professor Dumbledore not to suspect that the Ministry of Magic of the 3 Kingdoms has reached some kind of agreement behind the scenes, using this ancient activity to cover up people's eyes. As for the price, at most it would just be the death of a few students, and it's not like they have never died before. The big deal is whether it will be implemented next time. This cost is nothing compared to the possible benefits, because a very important person in his life once set his sights on legends around the world out of personal ideals. Unfortunately, most of the legends were too elusive and difficult to pursue. In the end, that guy could only focus on us for the local legend in Britain. Ahem, I don't want to think about those things in the past. In short, Professor Dumbledore knows more information about the legendary Hanging Gardens than most wizards in the world. According to the few words left in history, the wizards of ancient times built this wonder not for growing flowers and plants, but for some weapons related to Abzu and Tiamat. Anyway, that's what it says in the ancient books, and it's impossible to tell the truth, but it's certain that the Sky Gardens once had powerful military force. Thinking of this, Professor Dumbledore couldn't help pinching his nose. Unlike the Deathly Hallows, the Elder Wand is not that scary, at least in his eyes. Even in cough, I don't want to think about it anymore. The invisibility cloak has been in his hands for many years, and the invisibility cloak that never fails is indeed magical. But that's all. And what about the Sky Gardens? The wizards who once controlled the Sky Gardens did rely on this wonder to rule the Mesopotamian region, and even Professor Dumbledore didn't know what was hidden in it. But at present, the Sky Gardens, which has become a ruin, can trap the teams organized by the Ministry of Magic of various countries, which is enough to prove that this relic is indeed extraordinary, and the power of the Sky Gardens in the past is even more evident now. The magic ministries of various countries should be both worried and excited, right? They are not afraid of danger inside, but they are afraid that there is nothing inside. However, greed has blinded their eyes, making them turn a blind eye to everything that happened to the Sky Gardens in the past. That magnificent wonder, along with the wizards who controlled it, suddenly fell like a meteor at the peak of its booming development, sank into the ground, and became a relic waiting to be explored. Today Professor Dumbledore didn't know what was hidden in it, but he knew that it would be best if it was buried deep underground forever. At least it should not be dug out at this time. The fist on the table slowly clenched, and Professor Dumbledore raised his head and looked into the void in the distance. He really didn't want to face his old enemy when he was planning to take his former evil apprentice away with him. A faint sigh sounded in the principal's office. Maybe he should go out for a while. Chapter 139 Underground Exploration Part 2. Well, waking up from their sleep, Zola and Yahweh couldn't help but have a trace of doubt on their faces. How could they suddenly fall asleep? Are you awake? Looking up, Mr. Gandalf was looking at them with concern. The confusion on their faces suddenly disappeared and turned into guilt. They suddenly fell asleep. Mr. Gandalf must have been very worried. Sorry, when the two of them first spoke, Adam explained for them. The fruit you are eating seems to have some kind of soothing and sleep-promoting ingredient. If you eat too much, you will fall asleep. It is best to take it as little as possible to maintain your survival. So, that's it. It dawned on them. As expected of a research scholar, he discovered the effects of that fruit so quickly. Now that the two of them woke up, the team naturally continued to move forward, and it took a few more days before they found the mountain range that the two of them mentioned. It was said to be a mountain range, but in fact there was no soil or plants. When I raised my head, the black mountain high above the ground in front of me was completely connected to some kind of pitch-black mineral, but Adam didn't know what it was exactly. Adam began to wonder whether this was the predicted mountain, especially since he didn't see any trees while walking from the lake to the mountain. Mr. Gandalf, do you still want to move forward? Adam turned back to look at the two of them and smiled. Sorry to trouble you, but I have to ask you to sleep a little longer, eh? After hearing this, the two of them had not yet had an ominous premonition, and the sleeping card had already put them into baby-like sleep. Adam spread his wings and flew into the air, looking down at the mountains, but still couldn't find the shadow of the tree. Could it be that the so-called mountains, rivers, trees, soil, etc. all refer to it? Did I understand it wrong? After a long silence, Adam summoned a Clow card. The seal is lifted. A graceful figure emerged surrounded by Kang Feng and Liu Lan, with a gentle smile. Feng, please check the surroundings to see if there is a couple like this. Adam took out the photo that Eugene gave him. Or, it matches the left side of the mountain, the right side of the water, the top of the tree, and the point of the soil. Using wind cards to detect is actually not a good idea. This place is not like the previous Fire Lake cage. The area that needs to be explored is too large. Before thoroughly learning the magic of wind cards, his magic power cannot support a carpet-like search of such a large area. But after so many days, the previous exploration route came to a standstill, and Adam became a little impatient, so he could only use stupid methods to explore one area after another. Leave it to me. The wind glanced at the photo and turned into thousands of light breezes, blowing towards the end of the far-reaching site in front of a certain tent. A small team was warming up over a fire. Suddenly, a gust of breeze blew by. One of them couldn't help but pick up the compass next to him and make a few calculations. The grand view is above, along with the sun, and in the middle, you can view the world. Captain, have you suffered from occupational diseases again? The speaker glanced at him and showed a accustomed smile. It's almost done. Let me tell you, this thing tastes a bit like leeks when baked. Fortunately, I brought salt when I went out. The gust of wind just now was unusual. Putting down a compass, the man called the captain looked in the direction of the wind. Someone is casting a spell. It seems that there are still people who haven't given up. The man who was roasting some kind of plant was silent for a moment and sighed. I don't know if the country will send additional reinforcements to rescue us. The captain said categorically, the Ministry of Magic will certainly not sit back and let us remain trapped in the ruins. I'm not talking about the Ministry of Magic, I'm talking about the office. The captain fell silent. Now the office, the full name is the Liaison Office of Traditional Culture and Religion. Compared with the Chinese Ministry of Magic, whose scope of influence is limited to Hong Kong Island and whose power has been shrinking in recent years, the office is the real Ministry of Magic in China. Strictly speaking, Magic, the department, is a subordinate department of the office. Looking at the current situation of this ruins, if the office does not take action and only relies on the Chinese Ministry of Magic, they may not be able to be rescued. But this time they came to explore the ruins, it was entirely the Ministry of Magic's own initiative. Anyone with a discerning eye could almost see what the Ministry of Magic was doing behind the scenes. Will the office really send someone to rescue them? In the end, the captain just suppressed his words. Whether this is something we can decide, let's continue to hold on and wait for rescue. With the roar of the wind condensed a figure in front of Adam. Looking at Adam, who looked a little pale, he shook his head with apology on his face. I didn't see the people in the photo or trees around here. Sorry. Huh? No need to apologize. What's your fault? Adam rubbed his swollen temples. He didn't know whether it was due to excessive consumption of magic power or psychological factors. He felt a little headache. I understand. Please come back. Before returning to the Clow card, Feng thought for a while and said, perhaps you can give me some ground to look for. Land. It's just my guess. What we are doing here now. Adam's eyes lit up when he heard Feng Pai's words. Yes. The first underground floor is underground, but what about the second underground floor? Just because it's deep enough here and you haven't found a way to continue going down, you can't ignore it. The more he thought about it, the more likely it was, and Adam couldn't help but want to give it a try now. Take it easy, Adam. Feng gently placed his hands on Adam's shoulders, stopping him from taking out the land card. You are already very tired, take a rest first. Okay, I know. Feng was right. Even if he summoned the land card, he couldn't explore very far with his current magic power. Take a rest first. Adam, how was the result today? Seeing Adam appear in the dormitory, Eugene, who had been waiting, hurried forward, and then found that Adam's face looked a little abnormal. What's wrong with your face? I'm fine, just a little tired, and it's almost time. Adam stopped Cologne from continuing to speak, and looked at his brothers, who looked at him after hearing Cologne's words, with no flaws in his expression. I found some clues today, and I'll go and see tomorrow. Eugene opened his mouth. Actually, if you can't find it, forget it. Huh? Not only Adam, but the other three couldn't help looking at Eugene. It's just, I haven't met them, so I don't miss them that much. Eugene hooked his fingers together and said with his head down, "I have been prepared for a long time. They will die in some ruins at any time. Now, it's just that the day has really come. Let me look for it again." Adam patted his shoulder. "Now I went to that ruins not only because of your parents. I found a kind of hairtail fish that is hundreds of meters long in it. Although the taste is average, there is great potential for development as a food library." Yet, looking at Eugene, who was still lowering his head, Adam sighed. This child, he didn't react when he heard the hairtail fish that was hundreds of meters long, and he still said he didn't miss his parents. Chapter 140 finally found it. In the ruins of the Hanging Garden, Adam and the earth stand side by side during the process of sensing the ground. The ground closed its eyes, and the posture of its hands was very similar to that on the Clow card. "How's it going?" Opening his eyes at the sight, Adam asked quickly. "There's definitely a lot of space underground." "Many, yes." He stretched out his finger and pointed at Adam's brow. "Close your eyes." Adam closed his eyes as instructed, and then felt the magic power begin to flow away again, and at the same time, he suddenly saw something. "Look down and you can see what's going on underground." Hearing the words of the land card, Adam quickly lowered his head, but was shocked by his new perspective. It was a perspective similar to a super wide angle and capable of seeing through, which made Adam unable to get used to it for a while. After taking some time to get used to this perspective, Adam looked underground again. There were indeed many spaces, and each space was connected to the layer where Adam and the others were standing through various passages. It probably required some kind of secret passages. Can only be opened in special ways. Adam focused his attention on the position between the mountains not far away and the large lake in the distance. He could not find any trees, but his sight could not cover all the areas between the mountains and the large lake. Look back. You had to walk all the way when you came here, but it was much more convenient to go back. The moving cards flash all the way, and Adam relied on the line of sight provided by the land cards to take X-rays all the way to the ground. Finally, the hard work paid off. Found it. Adam finally found a tree, just underground. It was a very vast space. The top of the space was hundreds of meters underground. The entrance to the passage was in a barren area next to the big lake, where poisonous insects were infested area. By the way, the big lake did not disappoint Adam. Through the perspective provided by the land sign, Adam could see that lake. Putting the matter of the Great Lake aside for now, Adam did not go looking for the entrance, but directly relied on the magic of drawing cards and the infinite magic power of the magic stone to travel all the way the left side of the mountain, the right side of the water, the top of the tree, the soil. With expectations, Adam finally arrived inside the space. Unlike the darkness above, only some fluorescent cattail sticks can provide some illumination that is better than nothing. The space where the tree is located has natural light sources, and the brightness is very high. Everywhere you look is covered with glowing crystals, even the tree itself. Countless twisted tree roots shining like gold spread on the ground of the entire space. In the center of the space is the main body of the giant golden tree. The top of the tree trunk and the center of the 9 main branches is the main light source of this space. A luminous ball illuminates the underground space like daytime, but the bottom of the ball is wrapped in a black shadow. The spreading branches of the 9 main branches are covered with crystal leaves and flowers, which reflect dazzling fire colors under the light of this light source. The field of vision provided by the land card had no color but only shape. After entering the space, Adam was so shocked that he was almost speechless when he saw everything in front of him that was so dreamlike. Before Adam could recover, the Aboriginal people in the underground space gave Adam, the unexpected visitor, a warm welcome. The sound of crystal exploding sounded not far in front of him. A crystal suddenly exploded in front of him and exploded into a pool of liquid. Only then did Adam realize that he had been attacked. The colorful light refracted from all directions caught Adam's sight. It was so disturbed that he didn't even know when the attack happened or where it came from, but it doesn't matter. The rod of darkness gently struck forward, causing a ripple in the air. In the area where the ripple crossed, all the messy light was distorted. Adam looked around, and after adding a layer of filters, the attacker was suddenly unable to hide. It is a kind of insect whose body is divided into 3 parts. It is somewhat similar to a bee. It is about a circle smaller than an adult's hand. The main part of the body looks exactly like the crystals that can be seen everywhere in the space. The attack method is to directly attack the last part. Adam grabbed one with his hand and saw how the opponent launched the attack at close range. Adam couldn't help but observe the remaining parts for a while, and found that the bugs on the remaining head and chest were constantly leaking liquid from the fracture, and then after a few seconds, he lost his vital signs. Okay, very strong. Throwing the dead bugs aside, Adam flew towards the giant golden tree. The bugs obviously aroused great hostility on the way. These things were almost all over the space, and Adam clearly covered his figure with a magic card. It was strange to be able to locate Adam withstanding the attacks of the insects. Adam arrived at the center of the crown of the giant golden tree, next to the glowing ball. The top of the tree is made of soil. Just now, Adam saw an awkward dark shadow under the light source. It turned out that the ball was not directly growing on or stuck on the giant golden tree, but was held up by a circle of large crystals. At this time, there were 4 people in the surrounding crystals, trapped in the crystal like insects in amber, blocking part of the light emitted by the ball. The faces of the 2 of them were roughly similar to the photos given by Eugene, but they looked slightly older. Finally found it. So, is this the image that mirror, phantom, and shadow refer to? The double card refers to the 2 of them being together. In the cluster of crystals, the figures of the 4 people were constantly refracted. At first glance, it looked like a mirror maze. Eugene's parents were sealed in the same crystal holding hands. There was an inexplicable sour smell around the crystal. Adam heaved a sigh of relief and couldn't help but feel disappointed. He had thought it would be more exciting, like the magic that could clone people. No, it was magical props or something, and like the real and fake Monkey King, I'm real. I'm the real one. Forget it, it's better to be plain. After all, they are Eugene's parents. It will be like a heavenly book, with a bunch of fathers, and mothers, fighting for a son. This lethal dose of parental love. Even Eugene, whose parents have been absent for more than 10 years, may not be able to withstand. Adam walked to the crystal, reached out and touched the crystal, curious about how these people got in, and then he felt a section from the crystal. Fortunately, Adam had a shield to protect him. Okay, now he knows how they got in. There is no doubt that this is a trap. Adam retracted his hand and looked at the 4 people again, a little hesitant. There was only 1 card left in the divination result that had not been interpreted. That card meant that Eugene's parents were in a coma, and there was no target next, or it meant something else. To be on the safe side, Adam planned to rescue one of the other 2 first. The other 2 were a middle-aged man and a young woman. Adam rescued the middle-aged man first. The crystal was cut open with his sword raised in his hand. What made Adam a little concerned was that only the outermost layer of the crystal was solid, and the inside was full of liquid, the same liquid that flowed out of the crystal bugs from the broken end. Now thinking back, the crystal that attacked him also splashed this liquid after it exploded. Fortunately, the man did not turn into water. Adam checked and found that he still had vital signs. After calling the other party a few times without response, Adam decided to take some special measures. Chapter 141. A sword with outstanding effect. The man woke up from the pain. After opening his eyes, the man felt that his vision seemed to be affected to a certain extent. Why is there only a crack left in the world I see? And, my eyes hurt so much. Are you awake? The man looked over with some difficulty. What he saw was a kind-looking old man sitting in front of him. His pure white clothes were reflected by the surrounding crystals. Crystal. Exclamation mark. Yes. They should have been caught by those weird crystal bugs in the underground ruins, and then, you. What are you? The man looked horrified, thinking that the other person was an aborigine. Here she is dressed in snow white, which is inexplicably matched with the dazzling crystals around her, and even her skin is very white. She looks like she lives in a place where the sun never shines. Calm down, kid. I am a scholar. You can call me Gandalf. Scholar. Yes, I found this place and found that you were trapped inside the crystal. Can you tell me what you encountered? If thinking of something extremely terrible, the man's body trembled, and then he began to talk about their experiences intermittently, from being forcibly recruited by the Ministry of Magic at the beginning, to being attacked by Kraken when entering the ruins and the team scattered, to when they mistakenly entered the underground space and were sneak attacked because their vision was affected. His last memory before comatose was of crystal bugs crawling towards him. Come over. Adam nodded, smiled and said to the man, so do you feel uncomfortable now? Well, apart from the lack of strength, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with me. Okay. Adam nodded and stood up from the crystal. It's basically the same as what you said last time. I'll ask another one, man. Letting the man fall into a baby-like sleep, Adam turned around and raised his sword, breaking the crystal that sealed the young woman. The Woman opened her eyes in a burst of pain, and found in confusion that her cheek seemed to feel bursts of swelling and pain. Are you awake? After some questioning, the two people's oral accounts were basically consistent, with only one difference. The middle-aged man said that the person sent by the Ministry of Magic to monitor them was a young woman, while the young woman said that the person sent by the Ministry of Magic to monitor them was a middle-aged man. Oh ho, it's rational. Unfortunately, Adam didn't care who was an employee of the Ministry of Magic. He did the test just to confirm whether getting people out of the crystal would cause any problems to the person's physical or mental health. Seeing as the two of them are still interested in fighting each other, it should be fine. Adam rescued Eugene's parents with a sword, put them aside to wait for them to wake up, and then began to study the crystals and luminous balls next to them. A middle-aged man with puffy eyes and a young woman with bruised cheeks. %U0026. What the hell is this? Adam cut off the top of a crystal column and shook it slightly, causing the liquid inside to ripple. Relying on the protection of the shield, Adam even stretched out his finger to dip a little. The liquid was colorless and transparent, and felt slightly more viscous than water, a bit like milk tea. It seems that all the crystals in this space are the same. There is only a hard shell on the outside, and the inside is full of that strange liquid. Even the bugs are the same. They are not internal organs, but this kind of liquid, the internal structures of crystals and bugs, are the same. Does that mean that these bugs and crystals are essentially the same? Are crystals alive? Well, Adam turned his head and it was Eugene's father who woke up. Hello, is this Mr. Jackson Crowell? Forward. When he saw Adam, Jackson was still in a state of confusion. He did not answer Adam's words, but subconsciously looked around him and found his wife Melinda, who was still in a coma, the comatose wife, the crystals around. Only then did Jackson remember what had happened before, and looked at Adam. Who are you? After seeing clearly that Adam was a child, the vigilance in Jackson's words and eyes gradually turned into hesitation, dullness, and even a little suspicion. Doubt life, doubt your own cognition, memory, and vision. My name is Adam, and I am Eugene's classmate. Eugene's classmate, Eugene wrote to ask about his grandma because you wrote that you would visit him at Christmas, but his grandma said that you were dead. A lot of things happened during this period. Anyway, I found this place, and now it is came to save you. Speaking of this, Adam couldn't help but frown. No matter whether something happened to Eugene's parents or not, the outside world couldn't receive news. Those who went to Eugene's grandma to deliver the body, and those who wrote letters to Eugene, and so on. Who is he? Come, save us. Jackson reread a little dully, and Adam was even a little worried about his mental state, but this really cannot be blamed on Jackson. But what Adam said was a bit too outrageous. Because the parents of his classmates were in danger, he ran into dangerous ruins to rescue people, not to mention how Adam did it. Is this friendship just a little too indestructible? Even Hufflepuff isn't that outrageous, right? You must know that the couple were once Hufflepuffs. Oh, by the way, their son must also be a Hufflepuff, right? Jackson felt a little guilty inside for a moment. Jackson couldn't even think about Adam being a liar, because liars would not make up such outrageous reasons to win people's trust, but he still wanted to confirm it one last time. Do you have any way to prove your identity? After saying this, Jackson saw Adam looking at him with a somewhat complicated look, which seemed to contain a little condemnation. Good question. When I asked Eugene this question before, he was silent for a long time, and then told me that he had no tokens to prove his identity. He had never even seen you, at least not in his memory. Jackson wanted to say that he and Melinda went home once when Eugene was 2 years old, but swallowed his words after hearing Adam's addition. Melinda, who had just woken up next to her, couldn't help but blame herself. This photo should barely be able to prove my identity. Fortunately, you don't look much different from the photo. Adam took out the photo and then thought about it. Oh, by the way, there are also the birthday gifts and the Christmas gifts that Eugene gave me over the years. They are said to be the things you brought back. You should be able to recognize them. With an indescribable mentality, when Eugene gave gifts, he mainly wanted to show off to Tion Zinkson, which was shared by the 4 brothers in the dormitory. No matter what Eugene's mood was when he gave these gifts, Jackson's heart couldn't help but twitch when he saw these things, especially when he saw the bottle of Good Luck Spring Water. Even Melinda couldn't help but sit up. That is most likely a real Good Luck Spring Water. I think this thing must be a fake. Then Adam's words struck a sword directly into the hearts of the two of them. with an extraordinary effect, and they were immediately silenced. After all, if this is true, then you should have bathed in the fountain of good luck, and you would not have been forcibly recruited by the Ministry of Magic and locked up here. Most people will not be so unlucky. After saying this, Adam put away the bottle of lucky spring water again. After all, in Adam's eyes, no matter what kind of spring it was, the friendship attached to it was the most precious value of this bottle of spring water. Chapter 142 True Leg-Breaking Warning. Adam's process of gaining the trust of Eugene's parents went very smoothly. He silently disarmed and broke his defenses, and after a set of silky little combos, the two of them fell into deep self-blame in this regard. Adam's opinion is, why did you go so early? Is there any career where you have to leave your children behind and not be able to go back and see them for more than 10 years? Those who knew clearly that you two were exploring ruins, but those who didn't know thought you two were going to control floods or build atomic bombs. How did you find time to conceive and give birth to Eugene when you were so busy? Don't talk nonsense. You keep sending money to your family. Is it enough to raise a child with just money? What if something unexpected happens to Grandma Eugene at such an old age? By the time you remember to go home, everyone may be dead. It is clear that he is irresponsible and does not want to bear the responsibility of raising children. If he does not want to raise children, then he should not have them in the first place. It is definitely impossible for Adam to say these words directly to the parents of his classmates, but as the saying goes, he thinks about himself every day and dreams at night, and feels guilty during the day. If the two of them dreamed of Eugene's grandma scolding them in their dreams, it would be very disturbing. Reasonable, right? Written by Adam. Having found Eugene's parents, the most important thing now is to take them out. A moving card cannot bring people to teleport together, and here we have the portkey in apparition, so use the magic card to cover up the body, and then go out from the hole. After that you can use something like a portkey. Just as Adam was thinking, a burst of flames ignited out of thin air, and a familiar figure emerged from the fire. Fox. Adam's eyes lit up. Did Professor Dumbledore ask you to help? Fox nodded, then looked at Jackson and Melinda. This is Fox, Professor Dumbledore's Phoenix. The Phantom of the Phoenix will not be affected by the magic here. Fox can take you out of here, Phoenix. Melinda looked at Fox and couldn't help but her eyes were blurred for a moment, then she came back to look at Adam. Wait. Now that we have a way to leave, we still want to continue exploring. These two people are hopeless. Adam couldn't bear it and slapped Melinda to the ground with a stick of darkness. In addition to amplifying power, the Force card can also be used to control the Force delicately. For example, even though it was slapped on the back of the head, it didn't hurt the brain. After sighing that the Rod of Darkness was really easy to swing, Adam weighed the Rod of Darkness and looked at Jackson, who was nodding just now. Where do you want to be teleported to? Jackson's brain was running rapidly, and he remembered an important point that Adam mentioned before: go home. Those people who ran to my house must have found out that our couple was trapped in the ruins, and then they had evil intentions. We must go back and take a look first, immediately. Afterwards, Jackson reported their home address. That's fine, let these two weirdos go to meet Eugene now. Adam is afraid that Eugene's heart will collapse, so he goes back and asks Grandma Eugene to educate them first. Adam looked at Fox. Fox, do you know that address? Fox nodded. There was no place in England that he didn't recognize. Well, I don't know the way, so why don't you take me with you? Adam took out a piece of candy from his pocket. There is no fixed name for this thing. Adam has seen 7 or 8 names for the same thing in different places. The more common names are probably Dingshi puff pastry or red paper bag. Milfeu candies made from oil, maltose and other ingredients are often found in pastry shops selling New Year candies and kitchen candies. Adam's biggest impression of it was that it was so sweet that he had to eat one piece in 3 meals. As a result, I took Fox to look at all the products in the small shop that day and asked Fox to choose what he liked to eat. Fox picked it right away, probably because high oil and sugar restore energy. Anyway, this kind of food has been like this since then. Halva became Fox's fodder. After eating the whole piece of halva in 2 mouthfuls, Fox narrowed his eyes in contentment and flapped his wings, then stretched out his paw for Adam to hold it. Hold Fox's paw, Adam said as he levitated Melinda and let Jackson hold her with his other hand. Is this okay? Fox nodded, and then the whole bird turned into flames, wrapping Adam and the others along the claws. There was no feeling of being squeezed into a pipe like a pear eating, nor was there the feeling of being hooked in the navel like a portkey. It was similar to moving cards. When the surrounding flames faded, they had already reached their destination. Where is your home? As Adam spoke, he took out another piece of halva and handed it to Fox. Fox didn't eat it directly, but picked up the red paper package and disappeared into the flames. Forward, Jackson looked around and raised his hand hesitantly. There. Are you asking me? Fortunately, the wizard's houses and surrounding environment would not change much in decades, let alone 10 years. After some recollection, Jackson finally found where his home was, but Jackson's sudden return obviously caused a stir. After all, his funeral had already been held. After several screams, calls for help, and several spells, Jackson was subdued to the ground by Mrs. Lauren, Eugene's grandmother, and several wizards. By the way, the group of friends that Mrs. Lauren found was really awesome. The coma, petrification, and binding spells connected so smoothly that before Adam even had time to speak, Jackson was already lying on the ground. Seeing that the old lady had already taken out the truth serum and was about to pour it into Jackson's mouth, Adam quickly appeared to stop her, save him. After the shield withstood several spells, Adam finished his explanation and recalled the trip to Egypt with Mrs. Lauren. Mrs. Lauren believed that Adam really did such a magical thing. A third-year student at Hogwarts could enter the ruins of the Hanging Gardens to save people. A group of wizards with an average age of over 65 looked at Adam in surprise. Adam said that compared with the feat of a certain savior, it might not be so magical. A baby could bounce back Avada-Kedavra just by love, Voldemort and the moon worshippers, said MMP. Then you should ask them for the specific situation. Adams has paused on the unconscious Melinda, and then he looked away as if nothing had happened. I have to go back and tell Eugene about this. Sorry for bothering you, MRS. Lauren was still in shock and didn't know what to say for a while. You can't just say study hard, right? He skipped classes to save his son and daughter-in-law, and it was uncertain how much Hogwarts could teach him based on his abilities. Before leaving, Adam went to Mrs. Lauren alone to give her some instructions. Please keep an eye on them and don't let them run around. In addition, they seem to be obsessed with adventures, so I hope you can emphasize the importance of Eugene to them, too. Put it bluntly, even if you have to pretend to love Eugene, at least in front of Eugene. As for whether this is forcing Eugene's parents, he saved their lives, and if it weren't for the fact that they could provide Eugene with the missing parental love, would Adam care about their lives? The two bruised and battered people are still in the ruins. Don't worry, I've cast a tracking spell on them. If they still want to run, I'll break their legs, MRS. Lauren glanced at the shadow outside the door, who trembled when hearing this, and said faintly, anyway, with the family's savings, even if the two of them lie in St. Mungo's for the rest of their lives, they won't have to worry about food and drink. We can still go see them when we're free. Hiss. Although I saw it in the letter before, now the preparations and follow-up arrangements have been made. Is this really going to break their legs, with such a decisive move, plus the group of friends outside? It seems that Mrs. Lauren is also a person with a story. Then I'm relieved. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143, Returning to Normal Campus Life. After returning to the dormitory, Adam immediately wanted to tell Eugene the good news that the person had been rescued. Maybe it was because it was still daytime and there was no one in the dormitory. Adam cast a personal trace spell but found that everyone was over at the Quidditch field. There was a Quidditch match today. Not only is there, but looking at the positions of Eugene and the others, is Hufflepuff still one of the two participating parties? Adam just wondered for a second why no one had told him about this matter, and then he remembered that he was so busy during this period, and it was indeed understandable for them not to tell him about such a little thing. I don't know if Eugene's condition will be affected. Let's go and see. Using the magic card, Adam quietly replaced the Adam imitated by the mirror card. At this time, Ravenclaw's quaffle was blocked by Eugene, and there was a round of applause and cheers from Hufflepuff. Hey. Look, Bernard just turned his head to say something, looked at Adam and frowned. Adam, how did you recognize me? Adam was a little surprised. It depends on the eyes, the posture, but mainly it depends on the feeling. The Adam simulated by the mirror card looks exactly the same as Adam himself, but it just doesn't feel that way, Or in other words, it doesn't taste that way. Adam nodded understandingly upon hearing this. Bernard was probably talking about his unconcealable handsomeness. Why did you come back suddenly? Hearing the noise here, Uther turned around. Solved. There were people around, so he could only speak in a vague way. Well, solved, sure enough. It's still as reliable as ever. How is the field now? Adam looked at the score. Hufflepuff led Ravenclaw by 30 points. Is Eugene under the influence? No, on the contrary, he seems a little too excited. Bernard shook his head. I didn't tell you before because I was afraid that you would be worried. During this period of time, Eugene was even a bit desperate in training. I always thought that only the captain of Gryffindor could do this kind of thing without getting off the broomstick to catch the quaffle. What? Adam was startled and looked in the direction of Eugene. He was walking around and defending in front of 3 goals in an infinite trajectory. Is Eugene hurt? I just spent an afternoon lying in the hospital wing and got better. Then I was scolded by Cedric, and then he calmed down a bit, but I can still see that he is holding back some energy. Uther looked at Adam. Fortunately, you came back early, otherwise he doesn't know what he will be like in the next game. That's it. It seems that Eugene's parents really had a great influence on him, and he will have to contact Eugene's grandmother again later after so many days of busy work. Adam finally had some time to spare. Adam took stock of what he had to do next. It's almost time to brew the Wolfsbane potion again. Although Professor Lupin looked a little pitiful last time, Adam has already accepted Professor Snape's potion. It's hard to go back on his word. Anyway, 1 year is very fast. It just passed. Professor Lupin endured it and passed it. Then there's the location of the restaurant. Cologne's father had volunteered to help with this matter before, and now he has an idea. Adam plans to make a date when he can go to Hogsmeade to have a look, and if possible, buy it. The decoration of Fantasy Dessert Workshop should also be finalized. Ambrosio sent a letter saying that he was interested in working for him, but Adam was too busy looking for someone to deal with it. Now that people have been found, decoration and stocking should be completed as soon as possible, so that we can reopen before Christmas this year. Speaking of Christmas, Christmas is coming soon, so it's time to finalize the menu. I almost forgot, there is also Rowena Ravenclaw's diadem, and I need to find an opportunity to give it to Professor Flitwick. While Adam was planning, the game on the field was coming to an end. Cologne hit a bludger in front of Zhang Chu, and Zhang Chu had to stop the flying momentum. At this time, Cedric grabbed live the golden snitch, Tilvlu, following Mrs. Hooch's whistle. The Hufflepuff side burst into cheers and applause. Let's go. Let's celebrate tonight. Adam clapped his hands and stood up with a smile on his face. It is one thing that the Hufflepuff team won, and another thing that Eugene's parents were saved safely, but the surrounding Hufflepuffs obviously can only understand the former meaning no matter what. Adam said there would be something delicious to celebrate. As news of the celebration spread, the applause and cheers of the Hufflepuffs suddenly became a little more enthusiastic. Following the flow of people, Adam and the others applauded their friends from a slightly forward position. Eugene accepted everyone's congratulations with a smile, and couldn't help but pause when his eyes moved to Adam. This smile isn't the innocent smile of Mirror. It's Adam himself. Why is he here at this time? Could it be the excited Eugene wanted to use his physical strength to squeeze over, but he saw Adam shaking his head at him, and then pointed in the direction of the castle, indicating that he would go back and talk later. Eugene nodded, barely suppressing his excitement. Back in the Hufflepuff common room, everyone was celebrating except for 2 people huddled in the corner. Although there were already speculations, Eugene shed tears of excitement when he actually learned the news that his parents had been rescued. Thanks. No need to thank you. You should be able to help me look after the store from now on, right? Adam sighed. A few classmates came to me just now to complain, saying that you mixed up their desserts when you were visiting the store. I see. He also knew that he was not on the right state before, but being directly explained by Adam was another matter. Eugene held back his tears and blushed on his cheeks. Then hey, Eugene, why are you here? Another batter, Mike, came over and couldn't help but be startled when he saw Eugene's face. You're crying? So excited? You should smile after winning. Let's eat delicious food together. Eugene was pulled away mid-sentence. No matter what Eugene thought, Adam was relieved. He could never adapt to such an occasion of being solemnly thanked. However, Yaudale could not escape the first grade of junior high school, but he could not escape the 15th grade. After returning to the dormitory in the evening, Adam was caught by Eugene and said thank you for a long time. Adam had no choice but to tell Eugene that he could go back to see his parents for Christmas. This diverted his attention. What should I prepare? What should I say then? The troubled Eugene not only stopped pestering Adam, he even ate the barbecue absent-mindedly. If Adam hadn't cast the impurity removal spell, he would have had a fishbone stuck in his throat after the storm subsided. Adam finally returned to his ordinary campus life. Well. Chapter 144, Pettigrew, Danger. It was another day to go to Hogsmeade. Adam and Colin's father made an appointment to look at the houses for sale in the afternoon. He was in the cellar of the Dream Dessert Workshop talking to Ambrosio about the next shop decoration plan. The secret door of the cellar was opened with a pants sound, and 3 little lions came out of the secret passage. What are you doing? Adam looked at the shaky secret door after being violently opened, and thought to himself that he would ask Uncle Bernard to order a titanium alloy one next time, and add a magic lock. Seeing someone outside the secret passage, Harry and the other 2 felt their already pounding hearts tighten, and they breathed a sigh of relief after seeing who it was. Adam. No time to talk, run. The 3 rushed forward, pulling Adam and Ambrosio to run, but found that they couldn't pull them. Ambrosio was too big, and Adam was holding a shield, so he was as solid as a rock. What happened? Adam frowned, grabbed Harry's collar and pulled him back in front of him. Harry, who had been pulling Adam for a long time but he didn't move, was suddenly in front of Adam. He was stunned for a moment, and then hurriedly said, "It's Pettigrew? Oh, I can't explain it for a while. Let's go." Adam frowned. It's not Christmas yet. How could Pettigrew be exposed so quickly? Forget it. What does it have to do with him? Oh, little Harry, where do you want to go? Hearing this voice, Harry and the others' hair exploded. Pettigrew slowly climbed up the ladder from the secret door, revealing his sparsely haired head, and grinned at Harry and the others. The activity map was made by James and his friends, but I was also James's good friend. Which secret passage on it do I not know, you bastard? Harry's eyes turned red when he heard this, not because he was about to cry, but because he was angry. Hermione and Ron were also very angry. They have now figured out the truth of the year. How dare this traitor who pretended to be a hero say such things in front of Harry? Hey. Don't be sad, little Harry. I'll take you and your friends to see James and Lee. Bang. Adam used the flat surface of the dark staff to slap Pettigrew, who was halfway up the ladder and half exposed from the secret passage, back, and looked at Ambrosio, who had already taken out the wand. Ambrosio, were you a Hufflepuff? Yes. What's wrong? Ambrosio was shocked by Adam's move and answered after a second, "Oh, it's okay." Adam nodded and said nothing. It seems that Hufflepuff really has a buff that reduces its presence. What is this? Is it a passerby halo? While thinking, Pettigrew's furious voice came from the secret passage. "Ah, little devil. How dare you sneak attack me? I will kill you." This time Pettigrew learned his lesson, and a hand holding a magic wand first stretched out from the secret passage. Unfortunately, he probably didn't pay attention to the silent spell class at the beginning, and he didn't start chanting and casting spells until his hand was exposed. Thunder, snap, Adam swept the dark stick, and the magic wand in Pettigrew's hand was swept away. Dare to fight with a berserker? No, it's a person who practices both magic and martial arts without keeping a distance. Do you think he can only stupidly take out the magic wand to cast spells? At this time, of course, fists and feet are faster. Then, just as Pettigrew's hand was panicking and supporting the ground, and he was about to climb up to find the magic wand, Adam directly swung the dark stick and slammed Pettigrew's palm several times with a bottom without spikes, accompanied by a wail. Pettigrew's hand suddenly retracted into the secret passage, and several heavy objects fell in the secret passage. It was estimated that he did not hold the ladder firmly and fell down. Seeing this, Adam jumped directly from the entrance of the secret passage holding the dark staff. Harry, the 3 people and Ambrosio who witnessed the whole process. What is that? Ron was still a little dazed when he spoke. Adam just suddenly conjured up a thorny stick, and then beat Pettigrew with that stick. In fact, I feel that it is more like the magic wand of the magician in the fairy tale. Hermione couldn't help correcting, but thinking about how Adam used it just now, she was silent again. Don't stand there stupidly, go help. Harry pulled the 2 of them and quickly climbed down the ladder. Petty had lost his wand. Seeing Adam swinging the stick just now, he was not afraid that Adam would not be able to beat Pettigrew. The main thing was that the opportunity to beat the drowning dog should not be missed. Pettigrew was free falling down. Adam could jump directly down, but they couldn't. So when they got down to the secret passage, Pettigrew had been rolled into a ball by Adam. Well, to be more specific, Pettigrew's originally short and fat body shrank into a ball, and then he was beaten to the ground by Adam with the bottom of the dark staff, and he kept wailing for mercy. "Stop hitting me. I surrender. Stop it. It hurts. Listen to me. Woo woo woo." Ron looked at the scene in front of him and couldn't help saying, "Do you remember what we heard old McGonagall say about him last time? That kid, there's always no hope in a duel." There was another wailing sound, and Hermione shrank her neck and repeated what she heard at that time. Little did he know that Pettigrew was also furious after being beaten before he joined Voldemort. He was always looked down upon and was said to be a follower of James and his friends. Now that he joined Voldemort and learned some black magic, why was he still looked down upon even though he was a rat and beaten by Hogwarts students? Then didn't he join Voldemort in vain? Enough. Petty suddenly stopped being beaten blindly and raised his hand and roared. Then he saw Adam change the end of the dark staff after being stunned for a moment, and the circle of spikes on the top flashed with a faint light. Before he fainted, Pettigrew's thoughts flew, and his past flashed like a revolving lantern. He had been cowardly and incompetent since he was a child. After entering Hogwarts, he was included in the small team by James and his friends because he was a roommate, but it still did not change his current situation. He was the most out of place in the team. He had tried hard, and even learned the super difficult magic of animagus from James and the others, but the animal he could transform into seemed to be a mockery of fate. His animagus was a mouse. He was indeed a mouse, destined to be different from James and the others who lived in the sun. Oh, Remus lived in the moonlight. No matter what, he finally accepted the reality and found his way of survival. Although he was forced to join Voldemort at the beginning, Pettigrew quickly adjusted his mentality, worked hard for Voldemort, and took action against his former brother James. After all, if his brother didn't die and Voldemort didn't succeed, wouldn't he, who was afraid of being tortured and surrendered, be too useless? Even if it was a mouse, he didn't want to be a useless mouse. However, he did a good job here, but Voldemort failed first. Who would have thought that Voldemort would fall on a baby? After that, Pettigrew's journey was full of ups and downs. First, he was found by Sirius, and he had to sacrifice a finger to use dark magic to escape. Then, he was caught as a real mouse in the animagus form. Not long after, he was bought by the Weasley family to his son as a pet. Petty also thought about escaping, but what could he do after escaping? How good it is now. He became a hero by accident. His only relative became the hero's mother, and the only one who knew about it, Sirius, was sent to Azkaban again. Although he is now living the life of a mouse, at least he has food and shelter, and is a happy mouse. So, Sirius, it would be great if you didn't escape from prison. Before he fainted, Pettigrew seemed to see Sirius' face. Chapter 145. Times have changed. Damn, why did you suddenly yell so loudly? You scared me. After Pettigrew fell unconscious, Adam cursed and swung a stick at Pettigrew twice, and then looked at the two people who had just walked out of the other end of the secret passage. Sirius and Professor Lupin. Judging from the two people's appearance, they had obviously clarified the misunderstanding and chased Pettigrew all the way. The plot has really changed a lot. Such a side just came out in his heart and was thrown behind Adam's mind. It's hard to say about the world scope, but within Hogwarts, his influence is already too great, and it is normal for the plot to change a lot. If the original story can still be developed under this situation, it can only mean that there is a hand constantly correcting his influence on Harry's experience after arriving. Professor Lupin and Sirius first surrounded Harry and the other three to check if the three were injured, and then looked at Adam. It happened that Adam also looked at them at this time. Adam, Professor Lupin recognized the student in front of him. He looked at the dark staff in Adam's hand and then at Pettigrew on the ground next to him. The words he had organized were stuck in his throat. Ambrosio's voice came from above. Because of his size, he couldn't go down to the secret passage. He heard, "Who is that? An attacker? Do you need me to notify the Ministry of Magic?" "No, Professor." Lupin raised his head and shouted, "Sirius's grievances have not been cleared yet. The people from the Ministry of Magic will definitely take him away first. You are." Ambrosio frowned. Why is there another voice that he hadn't heard before? Professor Lupin saw that Ambrosio didn't recognize his identity, and hurriedly looked at Adam. Harry and the others just came through the secret passage. The extra Adam was obviously the person who was here with Ambrosio before. In addition, Adam said that he bought Honeyduke's candy store, so it was reasonable for him to appear here. Adam quickly explained to him that we can't tell the Ministry of Magic yet. We have to take him to see Professor Dumbledore first. Adam nodded, raised his head and said, Ambrosio, according to what he said, there is no need to tell the Ministry of Magic. You go and arrange it first, okay, boss. After Ambrosio finished speaking, the footsteps gradually faded away. Professor Lupin didn't think there was anything wrong, but Sirius couldn't help but take a deep look at Adam. Then he felt nauseous and scared, and he couldn't help but knock his forehead with his fist. Could it be that he had been with the Dementors for so long that his mind was not normal, or had the outside world become so magical in just a dozen years after he was imprisoned? Let's go, Professor Lupin. I'll take this guy to see Professor Dumbledore with you, and then I have something to do in the afternoon. Adam pointed to Pettigrew on the ground. Oh, if you're busy, you don't have to go with us, Professor. Lupin hesitated. In fact, they still had some things they wanted to ask Pettigrew, and if possible, they didn't want anyone else to be present, including Professor Dumbledore. Adam raised his eyebrows when he heard this. I'm afraid it won't be as you wish. A deep and familiar voice sounded, and Professor Snape walked out of the darkness with his wand in hand. His eyes moved from everyone present. When he saw Pettigrew on the ground, he frowned fiercely, and finally his eyes fell on Professor Lupin and Sirius. Everyone present must go with me to see Professor Dumbledore, including the one next to you, the fugitive from Azkaban. You dirty slug! Sirius' temper exploded all of a sudden, and he pulled out the wand he got from nowhere. Sirius, Professor. Lupin grabbed the somewhat excited Sirius, squinted his eyes and looked at Professor Snape. How did you find me here? I don't need to explain to you. It seems that you don't plan to leave with me. Professor Snape sneered and did not answer Professor Lupin's question, but winked at Adam. Adam waved the dark staff knowingly, and countless vines and branches in the darkness wrapped around Sirius from all directions. What is this, Remus? Be careful, the flames are blazing. By the light of the fire, the two saw clearly that they were surrounded by the devil's snare and poisonous tentacles, but the devil's snare should have retreated after seeing the fire, and the poisonous tentacles should not grow in the dark secret passage. Without time to think, the two began to cast spells on the plants surrounding their feet. Adam looked at this scene and suddenly turned his head back. Seeing this, Harry and the other two who had just taken out their wands to attack Adam hurriedly put their wands away, and then gave Adam an awkward but polite smile. Seeing that the sneak attack failed, Harry quickly resorted to verbal persuasion. Adam, Sirius is not a bad guy. He is a wanted criminal of the Ministry of Magic. The Ministry of Magic is not always right. Adam glanced at Hermione, who was refuting, and continued, Professor Snape just wants to take him to see Professor Dumbledore. Ron wanted to say something, but Professor Snape spoke first. On one side is a wanted criminal and a werewolf, and on the other side is the Ministry of Magic and a professor and the dean. Which side do you think Adam will believe more, Professor? Snape folded his hands in front of his chest, and smiled grimly at the two people who were besieged and in a panic. Times have changed. Looking at the silent three people, Adam shrugged his shoulders, then turned to Professor Lupin and Sirius and said, Give up resistance, we won't hurt you. Bullshit. I will never surrender to slugs. Sirius still wanted to throw a spell at Professor Snape not far away. Professor Snape waved his wand to block the spell, and his face suddenly became gloomy, hanging upside down. Take out the long-lost wand. Adam controlled the poisonous tentacles to entangle Sirius, and then a spell hung him upside down in the air. The poisonous tentacles took this opportunity to whip Sirius's wrist. The venom of the tender branches was not fatal, but it was enough to paralyze his wrist and let his wand fall out of his hand. Sirius couldn't help but yell a few times after losing his wand. Professor Snape waved his wand at him with a gloomy face. The pink bubble water filled Sirius' mouth at once, making his yelling unclear. Then, Adam and Professor Snape's eyes fell on Professor Lupin. With the poisonous tentacles and devil snares around him, Professor Lupin swallowed his saliva and decisively chose to follow his heart, throwing his wand aside and raising his hands. Seeing this, Adam sighed with some regret and dispersed the Chinese biting cabbage and mandrake that were ambushing in the dark with a quiet card. He can use the mandrake as a fixed point and directional sonic weapon without worrying about hurting his own people. As for using the sound card to simulate the cry of the mandrake, although it can be done, I always feel that the crying of the mandrake is also an indispensable part of this weapon, just like shouting hurry up in command before throwing the talisman unless it is absolutely necessary. Adam refuses to deprive the soul of the move. Chapter 146. A new oligarch is about to be born. Professor Dumbledore, everyone has arrived safely. If nothing happens, I have an appointment. Looking at Sirius, whose brain was congested and spitting out powder, and twitching under the paralysis effect of the poisonous tentacles, and Pettigrew, who was swollen and bleeding from the wound, Professor Dumbledore rarely hesitated. Filed under safety, this guy came after Harry and the others, and said he would do harm to them. Most importantly, he even planned to cast a curse on us, so I had to use some violent means to stop his evil deeds. Adam pointed to Pettigrew, and Harry and the others nodded in support of him. As for this guy, he's a wanted criminal in the Ministry of Magic. He broke into the Gryffindor common room very badly before, causing me to cough, and everyone had to spend the night in the auditorium. I have reason to doubt his position, even if he and Professor Ping appeared together. Adam glanced at Professor Lupin. In view of the criminal records of the defense against the dark arts professor last year and the year before, as well as Professor Lupin's speeches, and his unwillingness to come with you to see you, I used some extraordinary means. Harry and the others hesitated for a moment, then nodded. There seemed to be nothing wrong with what Adam said. A cough. Sirius spit out the foam that rose up from his throat and spoke angrily. When would I not want to see Dumbledore? Pink bubbles poured out of Sirius' mouth again. Then, why didn't you explain it then? Adam shrugged with helplessness on his face. Sirius, at that time, I thought you and the slug were in the same group. Adam, then you're pretty good at judging people. All right, Professor. Dumbledore felt a little headache after hearing this. With a wave of his wand, he cleared Sirius's mouth and looked at Adam. I'm probably clear about what happened before. Since you still have something to do, go ahead. Adam nodded to Professor Dumbledore, turned and left the principal's office. Professor Dumbledore looked at Ron and Hermione again. Can you please go to the hospital wing and help me bring Madame Pomfrey? Her help may be needed here. Hermione and Ron also left the headmaster's office. Professor Dumbledore looked at Professor Lupin, then at Pettigrew, who was pretending to be dead, and finally at Sirius. He crossed his fingers on the table and leaned forward slightly. So, where do we begin? Sirius, Professor Snape should be relieved now, right? Adam muttered to himself, then held the elixir with 2 fingers and shook it in front of his eyes. The golden potion shone brightly in the winter sun. Adam, is this really a lucky potion? Zyok and Sibby couldn't help but poke their heads out of their satchels. Luck. Fate is such an elusive thing. It is too elusive. Even someone as powerful as Quirrell can only predict the future, but cannot create magic that can make people lucky. Of course not. If it were a real lucky potion, I can't even imagine what materials would be used to brew it. Adam shook his head. Fortune elixir can only mobilize a person's state to the best. In this state, a person's various abilities will be brought into full play, and things will naturally go very smoothly, giving people the illusion of good luck. To put it simply, fueling elixir can help people do things that humans can do more smoothly. But if you feel like you can win the lottery after drinking this, you probably drank too much fueling elixir. That's it. Zyok was a little disappointed. Even so, it's still a very powerful potion. Sibby couldn't help but sigh. Yes, and it was made by the youngest potion master of this century. If you don't drink a bottle in one go, or take it for several days in a row, there will be almost no side effects. Adam said inside again. Unfortunately, I don't seem to have any use for this. With 2 cards in hand, a bottle of Fortune Spirit Elixir directly allows him to achieve the freedom of Spirit Elixir, but there is almost nothing difficult that he can do without the help of Spirit Elixir. The Spiritual Fortune Elixir seems to enhance thinking ability. If I had drank this when I was looking for someone before, would it have been smoother? Adam reflected for a moment, and it seemed that this was indeed the case. Well, learn a lesson. Next time you lose Eugene's parents, remember to take a sip of the elixir before looking for them. Passing by the corner ahead, Eugene happened to hear, a little moved, but not that moved. Anyway, thank you. Not noticing the complicated look in Eugene's eyes behind him, Adam went all the way back to Hogsmeade Village. Since there was still some time before the afternoon appointment, he casually sat down at the 3 Broomsticks bar. I feel like I can open a pub in the future. Adam looked around and said thoughtfully, compared to staying in the restaurant, sitting at the bar and listening to the people in the tavern bragging sounded like a more interesting option. As for the tavern's business, He didn't consider it. Anyway, he didn't care whether he made money or not. Speaking of which, when he masters the magic of shipping in the future, wouldn't he be able to easily create aging wines that last for decades or hundreds of years? The 8,000-year-old Nirhong. Well, it seems that I can't drink it. You should let Ms. Rosmerta go. Adam looked up and saw that it was Cedric walking over with butterbeer, pulling out the chair and sitting down. Cedric looked helpless. Look at the once popular shops in Hogsmeade. Since the opening of your shops, business has been bleak. The Three Broomsticks pub and Zuko's joke shop are all empty, and the Honeyduke's candy shop is even more empty. It just went bankrupt. To be precise, it was acquired by me. Did you see the new sign? It will be called Fantasy Dessert Workshop from now on. Adam shook his finger. It will be open in a few days. I have to say that wizards are indeed more convenient to decorate. If you switch to muggles, you won't even be able to get a sign in a few months. When it comes to things like infrastructure, if you don't go abroad and take a look, you really won't be able to appreciate what it means to be astonishingly efficient, meaning that by comparison, you find that your own home's efficiency is so amazing. Cedric choked at Adam's words and finally found his voice. That's Mrs. Puttifu's tea house. Because it's suitable for dates, the business hasn't been affected much. So I should open another boutique afternoon tea shop. Adam rubbed his chin and thought. I also passed by Mrs. Puttifu's tea house and took a look. The layout is too casual. Everyone goes on a date. I can only say that it is quieter there and more suitable for dating than a noisy bar. Chunchin is a dwarf, and with the past seniors this is the habit left by the senior students. As he spoke, Adam's tone became much cheerful. If it were me, I would change the layout and design booths for dating couples, set up photo walls, message walls and love locks at the door, and then launch various packages. Stop. Are you planning to make all the shops in Hogsmeade yours? Cedric's expression was a little desperate. If so, I have only one request. Don't change too much after you acquire this tea house. Leave a sweet memory to everyone who dated here before. Looking at Adam like this, he knew that Mrs. Puttifu's tea house would probably not be able to fuck him. No, it would definitely not be able to fuck him. Chapter 147. Make the sun never set. Great again. I just mentioned it casually. I may not want to open any other stores by then. Adam took a sip of milk tea and said faintly when Cedric breathed a sigh of relief, or maybe I will just take over Hogsmeade and turn it into a big shopping mall. Are you kidding? Cedric asked tentatively. Who knows? Adam chewed pearls, with a look of not taking responsibility for any of his words. He is planning to open an amusement park, so what is a shopping mall? He might really do it by then. The first floor will open a tavern, afternoon tea house, fantasy dessert workshop and Cologne's rare birds and animals. The second floor will sell student supplies, accessories and sundries, and open a branch of magic trick shop. The third floor will sell boys and girls clothing, ranging from affordable and even second-hand to luxury brands. The fourth floor is a formal restaurant, just right to divide Chinese and Western food and wizarding specialties into several stores, and the fifth floor is a cinema. Then there are several fast food, milk tea and snacks on each floor, and a separate snack street on the basement floor. It's perfect if Hogwarts didn't allow students to stay overnight in Hogsmeade. Adam could even open another floor of a hotel. The only thing to worry about is that the students of Hogwarts and the residents of Hogsmeade may not be able to withstand his fleecing. As expected, he still has to fleece tourists. Maybe he can open another chain store in Diagon Alley. Anyway, when Voldemort comes to power, the land price in Diagon Alley should also plummet. If there are few sellers, Adam will buy a piece of land and collect rent. If there are many sellers, Adam will directly open a shopping mall in Diagon Alley. After coming back to his senses, Adam looked at Cedric in front of him. By the way, why didn't you go on a date with Joe today, and came here to drink alone? Although it is butterbeer, it is also alcohol. Although coming to Hogsmeade Village seems to be a good opportunity to play, Hogwarts Castle itself is large and magical enough. Senior students are not very enthusiastic about coming to Hogsmeade Village without anything to buy. I came to find you after asking Cologne where you were. Cedric took another sip of butterbeer, frowned and thought for a while before speaking. It's mainly because of Eugene's matter. He was too devoted to training some time ago. I'm not saying that he was too devoted, but his condition was very wrong, even a little desperate. I know. After hearing this, Adam knew why Cedric came to find him. It is estimated that Cedric had also looked for Uther and others before, but he didn't get the answer, so he came to ask him in the end. Fortunately, he was the last one to be asked. Something happened at Eugene's home before, and it has been resolved now. He will adjust his condition later. Oh, nodding, Cedric didn't ask in detail, but since it's okay, it's good. After drinking the rest of the butterbeer in one gulp, Cedric wiped the hops casually, raised the cup to signal, and left after eating some roasted chicken leg rice at noon. Adam went directly to Cologne's house. Cologne's father Stephen was already waiting for him there. As soon as Adam arrived, he took him to meet the person who was interested in selling the property. The other party's son was transferred to India 2 years ago. Because he did a good job and thought the food there was good, he planned to settle down there. Besides, the treatment of British wizards in India is really good. After considering it for 2 years, the other party also intended to move there. Now Adam plans to buy it, which is just right. Well, the food is good. He was speechless for a moment, but Cologne's father should not have told the other party what Adam bought this land for. By the way, the management of the wizarding world is really loose. If you buy this land, as long as it does not break the law, you can do anything with it because both parties are sincere about the transaction, and Cologne's father acted as a matchmaker. The transaction was completed very smoothly. After signing the contract, the land and the house on it belonged to Adam. Because he left in a hurry, the other party did not even bring large furniture standing in front of the house. Adam nodded with satisfaction. The house in front of him was at the corner of Hogsmeade Village, at the blunt angle of a Y intersection, with 3 roads leading to the prosperous commercial area, residential area and edge of Hogsmeade Village, that is, the area where rare animals and birds are located. It perfectly took into account Adam's requirements and the dining needs of the Cullen family. Houses in Hogsmeade Village are still in great demand. This time it happened to catch up, otherwise it would be difficult to find someone willing to sell. Adam was not too surprised to hear Stephen's words. Hogsmeade itself is a famous tourist attraction, and it is also next to Hogwarts, so of course it is in great demand. After saying goodbye to Stephen, Adam sat at the door of the newly bought property and couldn't help but start thinking, if he wants to buy a large piece of land in Hogsmeade Village, then apart from winning it with money, he can only wait until Voldemort is powerful and Professor Snape becomes the principal. But the question is, should he keep Voldemort for that long? Forget it. If Voldemort is eliminated too early, the entire British wizarding world will always be stagnant, with a corrupt and outdated Ministry of Magic, and aristocrats who claim to be pure-blooded. If Adam wants to become bigger and stronger, he will be bound by the existing rules and cannot move his hands and feet. Since there is Voldemort, a ready-made game breaker, why not make good use of it? Moreover, the wizarding world has only so much wealth. If Adam does not want to print money casually and cause inflation, and wants to occupy some resources, then he can either make the pie bigger or clear out a few people who previously shared the pie. However, only children make choices. Adam wants to have both the cake and the original cake. He wants to make the cake bigger, but he wants both a bigger part and the original cake. If possible, Adam even wants to take this opportunity to take the financial system back from the goblins. It's not that Adam loves money so much, but mainly because these resources are the right to speak. If you don't take them, others will take them. Just look at Professor Dumbledore, who chose to support Fudge instead of being the Minister of Magic. The most powerful wizard of this century was forced to step down as the headmaster. Thinking of Professor Dumbledore, who knocked Fudge and others unconscious but could only leave through Fawkes, Adam felt a sense of injustice. Do good people really have to be pointed at with guns? Then Adam wants to say sorry, he is not a good person. He was sorted into Hufflepuff, not because of the sorting hat, but because he wanted to go there himself. Although he is sincere to his brothers, if you really cut it open, Draco, the little Malfoy, can be regarded as innocent and kind compared to Adam. Adam didn't plan to play power. He didn't understand that kind of thing, so he chose to play economics. With 2 cards and the Philosopher's Stone in hand, he could beat anyone in this aspect, and the opponent had better pray that Adam only plays economics with him. By then, he will hold Gringotts in one hand and the monopoly industry of the British wizarding world in the other. Whether the wizarding world is in chaos or not, it's up to Adam to decide. He can even develop into the Ministry of Magic of other countries. The industrial dumping that the British Muggles did back then, can't Adam do it? Clothes and accessories, potion materials, magical animals and their derivatives. The cost of these things on Adam's side is so low that it can make anyone despair. It's time to make the sun never set great again. Chapter 148, Dormitory Meeting. Christmas is coming, and the earth is covered with silver. The black hand that will cover the entire wizarding world in the future is now dozing in front of the fireplace with a cat in his arms. Fudge came to Hogwarts some time ago and took away Pettigrew and the Dementors outside Hogwarts, but the wanted order for Sirius has not been removed. Besides that, there is almost nothing else to do. The decoration of the store is also on track. Life in Hogwarts is really easy and comfortable. We are back. The door of the dormitory was pushed open, and Cologne couldn't help but retract his feet when he saw Adam waking up on the sofa. "It's okay, I'm awake, come in." Adam stretched and shook his head habitually before remembering that he was still in human form, so he grabbed 2 handfuls of hair and looked at the door of the dormitory. "Very good, all 4 of them are back." Meeting, the 4 of them put their bags away, sat on the sofa, and took some melon seeds and candies from the plate to eat. Ahem. This meeting mainly involves the following matters: pushing the glasses frame he got from nowhere. Adam looked at the parchment in his hand. First, regarding the small shop, the decoration of the Dream Dessert Workshop has been completed, and it is planned to open on the weekend before Christmas, so the small shop naturally does not need to bear such a heavy dessert sales business. Yes, it is heavy. You know, Adam relies on his own Clow Cards, so when he launches new products, he really wants to come up with anything he wants. From shortbread cakes to sugar lotus root 8 treasure porridge, he sells everything just for candy. How many combinations of various shapes and flavors are there? This also led to Uther and others taking a long time to remember which desserts are in which part of the dining car, and it is still not very clear until now. Adam directly puts most of the desserts that are relatively easy to store, such as candy and shortbread, in the Dream Dessert Workshop for sale, and the small shop only needs to sell those desserts with strong immediacy, such as milk tea and 4-fruit soup. Of course, no one had any objection to this. The store was originally Adam's business. If they were not helping to look after Adam now, they would not have to tell them. Speaking of which, Adam, you were planning to hire me and Eugene as store managers before. Why is Ambrosio the store manager now? Bernard said, touching his chin. Because I found a job that is more suitable for you. The plan was messed up, but Adam glanced at the parchment, which only had a few outlines written casually, so he simply threw it aside and continued, "Speaking of which, do any of you want to be the Minister of Magic?" Huh? As soon as these words came out, the 4 of them were stunned. "No. How? Do you have a way?" Bernard couldn't help but speak. "That's the Minister of Magic. If it were a Muggle, it would be the Prime Minister of Great Britain. How can you say it as casually as opening a branch and appointing a store manager?" "Yeah," Adam nodded. "It's complicated to explain in detail, so I'll make it short. The mysterious man is about to be resurrected, and he will probably clean up the Ministry of Magic at that time. After that, I have enough confidence to push you to the position of Minister of Magic, as long as you are willing." Wait. Uther rubbed his temples. Speaking of which, he learned this from Adam. "Why don't you be more specific and tell a long story? Your brief one is a bit too concise and contains too much information. First of all, who is the mysterious man?" "The mysterious man? It can't be that one." Cologne couldn't help but blanched. "The one who was defeated by Harry Potter." "Yes, that's it." "Didn't he die a long time ago?" "Dead, but not completely dead." Adam nodded. "He has been in a state of residual soul, and will be resurrected in a year or 2. Hiss. Cologne couldn't help but take a breath. "Did you predict this?" Eugene looked at Adam thoughtfully. "Half reasoning and half divination, mainly reasoning. Do you remember our first defense against the dark arts professor, Professor Quirrell?" "Yes, Voldemort was on him at the time, and the basilisk in the second year was also created by Voldemort's Horcrux." "Horcrux?" Uther frowned. "No wonder you said he was dead but not completely dead. Huh? You know about Horcruxes?" Looking at Uther, Adam was a little surprised. "As for the research on how to resurrect and how to not die, our family is still very famous, right?" After hearing Uther's explanation, Adam thought about it and said, "Then why did they make themselves mummies instead of using Horcruxes to extend their lives?" "Because Horcruxes extend the life in the world, and the world does not need an immortal pharaoh." Uther shook his head. "And the soul after being divided is not recognized by the god Amun-Ra." Adam understood. "No one cares if you go to the underworld and never achieve immortality. Anyway, no one can really know what happens in the underworld. But if you want to live forever in the world, you have to ask your son, wife, and ministers if they agree. What? Only you will achieve immortality." In this case, if you lose the approval of the god Amun-Ra, it will be really difficult for the pharaoh to survive. His legs are still twitching, and I guess they have been wrapped in linen. Osiris misses you in the underworld. Uther explained to everyone what a Horcrux was, which just saved Adam some time. During this time, Adam changed a drink for everyone. Why? Is mine brown sugar ginger tea, ? Couldn't help but frown after taking a sip. You and Eugene have brown sugar ginger tea. Now that it's cold, you have to train in the snow to avoid catching a cold. I only added 2 pieces of peeled ginger 5 minutes before serving, so the ginger flavor won't be too strong. Adam said so. Could only drink in small sips, but Eugene looked at ease. It's a joke. When Adam couldn't use the removal charm to remove onions, ginger and garlic from vegetables, 3 or 4 times out of 10 when he ate braised fish fillets, he would get ginger disguised as minced fish meat. This little ginger flavor he is completely immune. Back to the topic, Adam didn't say much about the future. He just said that the mysterious man will definitely be resurrected, and everyone should be prepared when the time comes. Should I let my parents go abroad for a while then? Bernard couldn't help but frown. He had some understanding of the mysterious man. He knew that he was a fanatical supporter of pure blood theory and had many Death Eaters under his command who took pleasure in torturing and killing muggles. It better be this way. Adam nodded. The mysterious man's hands can't reach abroad for the time being. If necessary, I can provide a safe house. Uther had mentioned the safe house before on the Hogwarts Express when school started. Bernard's eyes lit up when he heard this. I'll go back and talk to my parents during the holidays. Uther doesn't have to worry about the remaining 3 people, and there's no problem with Eugene and Cologne's families. Their families naturally have their own means of taking care of themselves. As long as they don't raise a flag to openly oppose Voldemort, they don't have to worry about their family's safety anyway. Adam has already prepared his family's safe house, and he doesn't need any persuasion by then. After all, his grandparents went directly to hide in China. Obviously they understand the principle of saving people and losing land. Ms. Lee and Mr. Reed's, the store is not so inseparable from people. If it really doesn't work, just close those industries and wait until they open later. What if the future oligarch still needs 3 melons and 2 dates? Chapter 149. Have you finally made up your mind to rob Gringotts? Regarding the issue of moving and taking refuge, Bernard still wanted to go back and ask his family, so the topic returned to the candidate for the Minister of Magic. Speaking of which, are you really so confident that you can push someone to the position of Minister of Magic? Bernard was still a little hard to understand, and Cologne nodded silently. Yes, when we students discuss this kind of issue, we always feel that it is very inconsistent. Don't worry about this, just talk about it casually. Adam waved his hand casually. Minister of Magic, this kind of politician would be very boring. Bernard looked confused. I can do either. Eugene did it react at all? Then let's go to Eugene. Eugene is indeed suitable to be the Minister of Magic when the time comes. He looks more stable. Bernard? What do you mean? Don't I look stable? The 4 of them looked at the indignant Bernard, looked up and down carefully, and shook their heads in unison. Bernard, I'm angry, but I can't do anything. In comparison, I think another career is more suitable for you. Adam had an idea, and a light bulb popped up above his head. You go take charge of the Wizengamot in Azkaban. Bernard didn't understand, but was shocked. I can still understand the Wizengamot, but Azkaban, isn't there only Dementors left in that ghost place besides the prisoners? What's there to be responsible for? The judicial aspect of the wizarding world has always puzzled me. There are so many loopholes like a hornet's nest. Many prisoners have been hastily released. For example, the former Death Eater escaped from prison by claiming that he was controlled by a mysterious man's Imperious Curse. The Imperious Curse? I remember that seems to be the unforgivable curse as well. Wake up. That's not the point I want to say. Adam reached out and grabbed Bernard's shoulder and shook it. If you use magic potions such as Veritaserum, or use a pensieve, then many unjust, false and wrong cases can be avoided. In the past, the twisted judicial system in the wizarding world may have been formed under the influence of various aspects, but under the mysterious man, after clearing away all kinds of obstacles, we can establish a more sound judicial system, and a criminal punishment system. On the one hand, the Dementors are unreliable, and it is too hasty to pin all the blame on Azkaban. Bernard's eyes lit up. If you want to say this, then I won't be sleepy. This position is really suitable for me. Oh. My God, is this really something we students should consider, ? Couldn't help but murmured, speaking of which, you have suddenly become the future Minister of Magic, Chief of Wizengamot and Warden of Azkaban? Plus Uther will be the Minister of Magic of Egypt in the future. Adam doesn't feel like it. I would be satisfied with just opening a restaurant and a dessert shop. The future exotic animal store manager, always feel a little out of place. There's nothing out of the ordinary about this. Everyone has their own ambitions, and the business of rare birds and animals spans several countries. It's not a small deal, Adam shrugged. Besides, if you also want to work in the Ministry of Magic, you can work at that time. How about being the director of the Department for the Management and Control of Magical Creatures? Professor Scamander will probably be very happy to contribute to the management and protection of magical creatures. Happy, ? Admitted that for a moment he was a little tempted, but, we still have rare birds and animals, wouldn't it be better to leave it to Kelly? Adam thought for a while. If it doesn't work, you can give it to me when the time comes. I would like to try to buy Hogsmeade while the mysterious man is wreaking havoc and housing prices plummet. Buy it. The entire Hogsmeade village, Cologne raised his head after cracking his fingers for a while, his face full of doubts. Where did you get so much money? Is this money legal? Does that need to be said? What kind of legal business can make a lot of money? Bernard was inexplicably excited. Have you finally decided to rob Gringotts? Of course it's not through robbery. The amount of money, well, it should be legal. Anyway, I will be able to do something about it by then. Adam thought for a while, but still didn't tell everyone about the double cards or the magic stone. It's not that they don't trust their relationship. With their relationship, it's okay for Adam to give a magic stone to each of them. It's just that Adam doesn't trust their strength to keep this secret. At least he has to wait for Voldemort and their strength enough to keep the secret. Okay, then this issue is discussed. Seeing Cologne in a dilemma, Adam simply started the next topic. The next thing is related to the last thing. It is about Rowena Ravenclaw's diadem. Adam took out the crown from his bag and put it on the table. He looked at the four stunned people, mainly Uther. Uther, you are more familiar with Professor Flitwick. You usually go to him to learn dueling knowledge. You can find an opportunity to properly reveal to him something about this crown, aren't you also familiar with Professor Flitwick? I rarely go to Professor Flitwick this year. It would be a bit unnatural to go to him suddenly. Adam's transformation of wizard magic into magic circles has gone very smoothly, and he can complete the homework independently. Naturally, he no longer has to trouble Professor Flitwick to assist, including Professor McGonagall now in his free time. Adam spends more time running to Professor Snape, Professor Sprout and Professor Sinistra. After speaking, Adam looked at Eugene. Eugene's parents happen to be explorers, so this crown was accidentally discovered by Eugene's parents. What? How is this okay? I don't agree. Eugene was shocked. It was a relic of Ms. Ravenclaw. What a credit it was to find this treasure. How could he steal it? What's more, he still robbed Adam. Don't refuse in a hurry. Recovering Rowena Ravenclaw's crown is a natural impression for all wizards born in Ravenclaw. And most wizards born in Ravenclaw are. He is a smart man who knows how to protect himself and is engaged in research and clerical work in all aspects of the wizarding world. Adam explained. Mysterious Man will not target them, and they will not resist Mysterious Man. After Mysterious Man is eliminated, they will become the majority of the wizarding world except Hufflepuff. If you want to become the Minister of Magic in the future, the support of this group of people will make things easier for you. Then I can't take away your credit. You must have spent a lot of effort to find. I found this in the utility room of the Room of Requirement. Adam's words made Eugene almost choke on his own words. They also knew about the existence of the Room of Requirement. Adam had told them a long time ago, but they didn't have much need for that place. Adam glanced at Bernard thoughtfully. In any case, Ms. Ravenclaw's relics are actually hidden in that place, and no one has discovered it for so many years. Chapter 150. The new resident in the Principal and number 039's office. Even so, Eugene wanted to say something else, but Adam grabbed his wrist. I want this credit to impress the wizards of Ravenclaw on me. It has no meaning other than attracting a few more customers, but I don't lack that little money. Looking into Eugene's eyes, Adam said sincerely, in comparison, you can help me more by becoming the Minister of Magic. Eugene take this credit and work hard to be the Minister of Magic, although Adam is fully confident that he can push Eugene to the position of Minister of Magic by then. It still depends on Eugene himself to see what he can do in the position. I will, Eugene nodded firmly. Hufflepuffs have many qualities, but stubbornness is not one of them. Professor Scamander, who illegally smuggled magical animals along the way around the world, has fully demonstrated the flexible side of Hufflepuffs. The news about the crown should be revealed slowly and casually, so Christmas will arrive as promised. Before then, after spending 2 Christmases together, everyone decided not to spend Christmas holidays at Hogwarts this year. Colin plans to talk to his parents and Kelly about future plans. Bernard wants to talk to his parents about taking refuge in a safe house. Eugene wants to go home to meet his parents whom he has never met in his memory, and Adam just wants to see everyone return. Just go home when you are home. As for Uther, Adam, you won't see me staying alone in a cold dormitory, right? Well, not to mention that it is still unclear whether those rats have been solved. Even if Uther could, it would be impossible for Uther to take advantage of these few days of vacation to return to Egypt. In desperation, Adam had to take Uther back to the safe house. Fortunately, he prepared the door key to the safe house. They parted ways after the Christmas dinner, and when they reunited again, Adam couldn't help but pay attention to Eugene's condition. Well, it looks fine. It seems that Mrs. Lauren's efforts during this period have been effective, and Eugene's parents didn't cause any trouble. How was everyone's Christmas? Uther's face was full of high spirits. He had eaten better than Christmas dinner these days. There is no way. The Hogwarts dinner party has to cater to everyone's taste, and there are many dishes that are not convenient to put on that kind of Western banquet, such as hot pot, grilled skewers, iron pot stewed cakes. Uther couldn't help but swallow as he recalled the delicious food he had eaten during this holiday. When Cologne saw his expression, he knew what he was thinking. His face turned green and his lips moved a few times. Adam noticed this and couldn't help but said, "Didn't you all bring the pre-made dishes I prepared for you before you went back this time? Even if you heat them up, they won't taste that good. Why do you look like this? Don't mention it." Cologne couldn't help but his eyes turned red. "That guy Kelly said that I can eat delicious food every day at Hogwarts and leave the pre-made dishes for them. I just eat bread and spread jam these days." Well, the last cry was a cry of blood. Hiss. Adam couldn't help but gasped, hugged Colin and patted him. "I'm sorry for your greedy child. I'll roast a necromantula for you later. Don't go to the auditorium for dinner. Let's eat grilled fish in the dormitory." Of course Uther and the others had no objection. Eat the grilled fish first, then add soup and boil the grilled fish. After finishing the grilled fish, add hot pot ingredients. It is simple and delicious, and it can be regarded as a common meal in the dormitory that night. In the principal's office, in addition to Professor Dumbledore and Fawkes, a third living being who was about to live here arrived. "Albus, I don't seem to see the students you mentioned." The person who spoke had gray hair and ravines on his skin. He was obviously old, but his hands and feet were shackled at this time. He moved his legs as he spoke, as if he wanted to cross his legs, but was unable to do so due to the shackles. "Adam is probably eating in the dormitory tonight, and his roommates are not here either." Professor Dumbledore sighed regretfully. Even the principal has no reason to mess with the small stove set up by the students in their dormitories. "Oh? It sounds like you like him very much." Professor Dumbledore nodded without hesitation and showed a loving smile. "Yes, you really prefer Hufflepuff. This is not a preference. I respect my teachers, be friendly to my classmates, and are full of enthusiasm and hope for life. I like every student like this, not to mention what?" The man narrowed his eyes. "What's more, his cooking skills are really good. Whether it's making desserts or dishes." Professor Dumbledore smacked his lips with some nostalgia. "The dinner we had that day came from his chef's Christmas dinner." Thinking of the Christmas dinner he had with a person in front of him, Grindelwald raised his eyebrows and felt inexplicably better after chatting for a few words. Professor Dumbledore looked at Grindelwald. The loving smile on his face disappeared, replaced by a coldness that rarely appeared. "You will stay here during this time." "I know, you said it before. I will not leave your side or this little bird's sight." Grindelwald turned his head and reached out to try to tease Fawkes. However, before being touched, Fawkes erupted into a ball of fire and disappeared. Grindelwald was stunned, remembering that he had killed a unicorn, and it might be that this breath attracted the phoenix's repulsion. Although he found the reason, Grindelwald still sighed. "It's impolite, watching Fawkes openly run to Adam's place to eat and drink." Professor Dumbledore, "It Would be even better if I could sleep with you, Grindelwald. Turned back and looked at Professor Dumbledore expectantly, but only got a cold gaze as a reply. Okay, Grindelwald. Shrugged, avoiding Professor Dumbledore's cold eyes, and leaned on the back of the chair. Why don't you loosen the shackles on me a little? It's really uncomfortable to sit like this. I'm just a poor old man who doesn't even have a wand. There's no need to be so vigilant against me. In response, Professor Dumbledore just sneered. Even without a wand, Grindelwald is one of the most dangerous wizards in the world. Without a wand, he would just spend more effort to cast spells, not to mention that it is not difficult for Grindelwald to get a wand. Hearing this sneer, Grindelwald lowered his eyes. Then at least tell me why you suddenly came to me and brought me under your nose to monitor me. It can't be that you missed the past and missed me, right, Professor? Dumbledore fell silent. He couldn't tell him about the Sky Garden. Besides, although he has completely lost trust in him now, that past is indeed a beautiful memory in his life. I'm dying. Grindelwald's eyes widened slightly, and his pupils shrank into needle points. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.